as such, it is not important, but the context of education in India is the favorite topic of UPSC. There are few topics which UPSC will always ask questions on: health, nutrition, women, sanitation, education. These are always, you can say, ubiquitous question. You will get, you will encounter one or two question. You will encounter one or two one or two question in mains or interview. Some way or another, you will get something out of it. So Maharashtra School Education Department has published a notification, has published a gazette notification omitting private unaided school from the obligatory 25% admission quota for underprivileged and weaker section subjected to certain restriction. अब ये चीज है क्या? What is this 25% quota? What is the aided, unaided? Generally, India में you have three kind of schools. First, government schools. Second, private aided. Aided means which are getting support from the government in some way, some parameter or another. And third is unaided. These are completely autonomous institute working as per the rules and guidelines of a private ownership. Government does not contribute any part in their functioning. So we have a law by the name of RTE Act. Colloquially, it is known as RTE Act, or proper name is Right to Free and Compulsory Elementary Education. Basically, right to education. That is your fundamental right also under Article 21A. Article 21A, fundamental rights. Any right which is fundamental to your existence. Any right which is fundamental to your existence becomes fundamental rights. So what is rights? Rights are your claims against state and society. So for example, your right to life, it is your claim against state. If we do not have this right, then the state can take away your life anytime they want. The police can take away your life anytime want. So we have given you some rights. We means whom? We the people. We all people came together, discussed, debate, and finalized a contract. And that contract you call constitution. In that contract, we said the state has all the powers. So we should also have something. We will have limitations on those powers. So under the contract called Constitution of India, the state has all the powers. So what we have limitations on the powers we have given to the state under the contract called Constitution. That is called rights. And the rights which are necessary for your existence is fundamental rights. So one of the fundamental rights is Article 21A, right to education. And using the powers of Article 21A, the Parliament of India passed a law known as Right to Free and Compulsory Elementary Education, simply Right to Education. What this law has? Few points you have to remember for prelims as well as main. First thing, the children aged between 6 to 14 are entitled to receive free and mandatory education. So it covers only children from 6 to 14. It does not cover higher, it does not cover secondary above 8th class or senior secondary, and it does not cover pre-primary. It only covers 6 to 14. Preschool it is not covered. The pre-primary is not covered. In a local school, in an age appropriate class. What is this age appropriate drama? Let's suppose you are a 13-year-old kid. So in which class you should be admitted? Properly 7th. But because you have no schooling whatsoever, so you will be admitted into a maybe first class, second class. But that does not do justice with your potential. So government says age appropriate. If you are 17, then you should be admitted to 7th. A question here, a kid who has had no education, how can you admit that kid directly to 7th? But nonetheless, the responsibility is on the school. The school will admit you in 7th, or maybe they may repeat you 1 year more. मान लेते 5th में ले लेंगे. 5th में they will take you, but they will not take you in the first class. 5th में they will take you, and then school has the responsibility to make you capable of 5th. That is the responsibility of the school. That's the important thing. You have the rights. Schools have the responsibility to make sure you have the quality of age appropriate class. For this, it provides a lot of things: remedial classes, extra classes, comprehensive evaluation. There are numerous parameters within RTI. So please remember, it covers only 6 to 14 for free mandatory education in local school in age appropriate class. Up this definition, local school basically means government schools. Wherever government schools are not present, it is obligatory on the state to put you in private schools also. And that is second point. Aided schools are obligated to provide education for free commensurate with their funding but not falling below 25. Matlab, government mein to compulsory education is there. If there is a government school in your locality and if you go there, the school cannot deny your admission for any reason whatsoever. Particularly earlier, what used to happen, primarily with respect to migrant parents. You're a migrant laborer, you're migrating from one place to another, you also take your kids with you, and then it becomes a problem how to admit them. अब देखिए, for example, you're in your village, so you know the sarpanch, everyone knows you in the village, they can verify that you lives here. अब you are in Delhi, who can verify for you? Nobody. And you don't have documents also. India mein document making is not very good. So you are a laborer class, you don't have documents. So what happens is it deprives your kid of education. Government does not want that. And in that, government simply says in this bill, this act, no student from 6 to 14 can be denied admission in any government school in locality for requirement of anything, XYZ thing. Say, for example, you are a Bangladeshi migrant. You're from Bangladesh, you're not Indian citizen. But yet then the school cannot deny you admission. Why we have done this? देखिए, by giving somebody a bit education, we will not lose anything. ऐसा तो है नहीं by giving some education to Bangladeshi हम हमारा नुकसान होने वाला है. But in the process of excluding them, we may exclude a lot of Indians also. By giving some extra education does not hurt anyone. First thing. Second thing, if we will give them education, of course, we will give them education according to our value setup. They will become Indian nonetheless, at least in value setup. We will teach them our history. We will teach them our society, not Bangladesh's history, Bangladeshi societies. So that's why we have made it very clear. No student can be denied admission in any government school for any denial of documents, any other thing, XYZ thing. It, वो तो right to life is available to everyone. So anyway, 21 is for everyone. Please remember, right to education is for everyone, irrespective of anything. Okay. First and second thing, if there is no government school in your locality, then a private aided means supported by the government. There are a lot of private school who get very subsidized land from the government. So those schools are under compulsion to provide at least 25% reservation. If state governments want, they can also allow unaided schools to provide education. जैसे दिल्ली में every government school, every private school, irrespective of aided or unaided, under Kejriwal's government, it is compulsory. Every government school, whether getting aids from the government or not, shall provide compulsory education to everyone, and 25% of seats must be reserved for the Dalites poor. Every school, doesn't matter the school we are talking about, maybe the most premium school in India, 25% seats must be given to whom? The deprived class. Delhi mein the criteria is 1 lakh. If your parents have an annual income of less than 1 lakh, you are covered into Delhi's EWS scheme. Every state has their own criteria, but generally it ranges from 1 lakh to 2 lakh only. 2 lakh se zyada kahin nahi milti. Why this has been done? Let's imagine you are unaided school, and that's why this news is here. Maharashtra mein the private schools were resisting this, and every school resists this. Yeah, you have opened a school for profit, not for education, and you know education is the best business in the world. You take the money, and the result is not your responsibility. बाकी business में क्या होता है? If you take the money, you must deliver the service. Schooling or education is a business where you take the money from the kid, and the responsibility of passing is on the kid itself. So the best business without service. So a lot of schools have been opened. Private schools are particularly increasing. Up these schools were demanding that why we have to provide free education. Jabki I am an unaided school, means I get no services from the state. But understand this: whenever there is an unaided school, the government bears the entire expenditure. Of those 25% seats, government pays the entire money. But the problem here is government pays nominal money. They are government rates. That fees is this, school uniform का आपका transportation, government rates होते हैं. Private school charges whatever they like from the parents. If they charge a private person, they will charge 1,000 rupees, for example, for transportation. But government rates will be 150 rupee. You cannot charge more than what the government says. So government gives money for 25% seats, but according to government rates, and something the private school very much hate. Of course, they are fighting against this. They are fighting to have to, at least unaided schools are saying we do not receive any aid from the state. Why should we give education? Understand? It's your responsibility. Few profession are above business, above profit. Education, health comes in them. They should not be profit making enterprises. They should be welfare oriented enterprises. It's your responsibility. You're member of the society, so it's your responsibility to, थोड़ा सा profit कम हो जाएगा तो आप मरोगे नहीं. If you want profit, then leave schools, start something else, कोई business कर लो. बात समझ में आया? तो please remember that this is a philosophy. The philosophy is that education is nobody's business. Education is not a profit institution. It is not a service you are providing. It is a welfare service. It is for everyone, and you cannot claim in this school. That's always the problem in every school, every college, every university, every job. That if you're connected to the bosses, you will have preferential access. वो तो अलग है. अभी हम करेंगे. I have included some studies about India's private education, how it is functioning, how it is increasing, and why government schools are weakening every day. We will do that. Anyway, please remember these are very good provisions. That 6 to 14 compulsory education, 25%. This is the dispute that is going on. I hope सबको clear है. In government school, completely free education up till 14, till class 8th. No school in India whatsoever can charge student any fee. Government, above that they can charge nominal fees, and below that they can also charge, but the school do not cater below 6. For that you have Anganwadis. Anganwadis cater from the birth to 6 year of age. From 6 comes the school till 14. Above 14 you are on your own. State does not care about you as of now, but it will care in future. ये होगा ही होगा. But nonetheless, and unaided schools में it's compulsory for sorry, aided schools में it's compulsory. 25% of the seats must be reserved for EWS. Unaided schools may, it depends upon the state governments. They can, they may, or they may not. Clear all the three kinds of school: government compulsory, aided compulsory, unaided temporary or at will. Next, elementary education remains cost free, as I told you, until the completion of class 8th or 14 years of age. No child can face retention, expulsion, and obligation to pass any exam. Something we call no detention policy. Till 8th, there is no detention policy. So, what do you think? Good idea? No detention policy is a good idea. नहीं है. Why? जी क्या लगता है आपको? Yes, that could happen. But what is the logic here? The logic is a kid must be worried about playing, not studying. Psychological development does not happen. हमारे देश में ही ये problem है बस. If you go to Nordic countries, they have better learning outcomes and they do not impose syllabus. They allow the kid to do whatever they want. They have play schools. इनका पूरा स्कूल play होता है. Where you are not under compulsion कि maths पढ़ना है, science पढ़ना है, reasoning पढ़ना है. यहाँ पे तो वी पहले दिन ही बच्चे को इतना बड़ा किताबों का थैला लेते, ले बेटा निकल. That's bad. You burden a kid too much. So we have done this. There's a psychological proof of this, that a kid must grow. The mental growth happens more with playing than studying. Studying आप बाद में भी कर लोगे, मरोगे नहीं. Having said that, if you have inclination, you can study. For that, government provides. होता नहीं है. Government made compulsion here that if a student is weak, you should provide additional remedial classes. अब प्रॉब्लम ये गवर्नमेंट में क्लासेस तो होती नहीं है, रेमिडियल कहाँ से होगी? So it is the weakness of the state for which we cannot punish the students. Or always remember, there are only bad teachers, there are no bad students. You are unable to communicate your viewpoint to a student. Student की गलती नहीं है, he or she is not understanding. It's the weakness of the teaching method, the environment, the classes, the teacher, the principal, the staff, who are unable to create the environment of study. और बहुत पैरामीटर्स होते हैं. If you remember, health is one of the parameter. If you have good nutrition, you will get ill less. You will get ill less, you will go to school more. Plus social constraint. Women often face discrimination while going to school than men. The manchale in the streets. So there are a lot of things that hinders this. Policy has sound justification that mental upbringing of kids happens more with playing than studying. Having said that, if you want to study, you can. If you're weak, the government is under obligation to provide you a remedial classes, extra classes, obligated. Hota nahi hai, that's a different thing. That's a governance problem. But it has a sound theory behind this. It is a sound rationale behind this provision. Nonetheless, it has been removed. Recent में देव नन्नी commission was appointed. They recommended, so government is phasing it out. एक साथ नहीं हटाया. Government is phasing it out, that dropping it to 5th. That up till 5th you will not be detained. Above 5th you can be detained. Means if you do not pass the exam, you can be held into the same class. So they are reducing this, but nonetheless sound justification. Next, no donation, no capitation fee whatsoever. If you go to private schools, they of course ask donation in the name of development fee, this fee, that fee. Not allowed. No admission test or interview either of the parents or the children. Private school में बहुत अच्छा होता है. Private schools में they always take interviews nowadays, especially in premium schools. The interviews, particularly of parents, is compulsory. So that's not good. Just because your parents are not literate, it does not mean you do not have the right to be literate. It's unethical. पेरेंट्स से बच्चे को जज नहीं. इसमें स्कूल्स पता क्या कर रहे हैं? दे आर पुटिंग देयर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑन पेरेंट्स. यू विल पास द इंटरव्यू, इट मींस यू हैव सफिशिएंट लिटरेसी, यू कैन टेक केयर ऑफ द किड. तो हम उसे पढ़ाना पड़ा, तुम तो पढ़ाओगे ही घर में. This is subjugation of responsibility. Is highly unethical. By any parameter, it is unethical to take the interview of the parents, at least, even to the kids. It is your responsibility to make them educate. It is your responsibility to uplift them. But you're putting that pressure to the parents. Completely unethical. Having said that, it is banned. Nonetheless, it is practiced. This is the problem with India. You have laws which are not implemented properly. Laws हर चीज का बना हुआ है, implement नहीं होता है. And this is a concept which I've told you multiple times, शायद कुछ बच्चों को याद भी होगा, known as soft state. Remember this concept, soft state. Soft state means a state which is weak on the people who disobeys the law rather than the people who obeys the law. If you're connected, you are well off, you're above the law. And who bring this kind of sentiments in India? Particularly people with power. People with power. For example, Pradhan Mantri Modi, Rahul, Kejriwal, they were having rallies during election, during Corona period. None of them were imposed fine. मुझे तो याद नहीं आता that Rahul Gandhi has been fined by Delhi police for any Corona violation, or Modi has been fined for Delhi police for any Corona violation. But the common people were bitten when they were outside. You have seen those clips. Marriages were restrained. There was a very viral clip of Assam. There was a DM of the Assam. He went into a marriage and he was shouting there, "I am your bloody DM." मतलब जैसे राजा बन गए हो. This arrogance is too high in civil services. So he was shouting over the family, which had the permission from DM office to have a marriage of limited number of people. He went into the marriage and he shouted and he tried to close it down. It went viral, so he was reprimanded by the state government. That's different. Imagine if it had not gone viral. The same DM, do you think he has the guts to say this to the Prime Minister, that it is Corona period, you are having a rally of 10 lakh people? वहां उसकी औकात नहीं बनेगी. But for common people, he is lecturing that you are violating Corona guidelines. This is known as soft state. Soft state, which is weak on the strong, which is strong on the weak. So you have provisions, but if you are powerful, you are connected, nothing happens to you. This is called soft state. So we have a provision, no interview, but nonetheless it is conducted. You can see any private school there. Next, curriculum and recognition. So these are the rights of a children. These are the rights of a children under RTE Act. Next, curriculum and recognition. An academic authority appointed by the center and the state government must formulate the curriculum and the assessment procedure. जैसे union के case में you have NCERT. NCERT makes the books and the curriculum is often made by CBSE. Central Board of Secondary Education makes the curriculum, the structure, the format, the syllabus, and the books are made by NCERT. Similar case में, the state government under this law can also establish CBSE like bodies for creating curriculum and other things, and most of the states have. ज़्यादा states के पास अपना regulator होता है. State secondary board education, they have it. There's a central board of secondary education. Similarly, you have state board of secondary education. Every state has their new curriculum. So this is allowed. Next, all school must adhere to the stipulated. This is very important. That there should be a critical ratio of teachers and students. देखिए, अब teachers are not like Superman कि भाई there are 10,000 students sitting in a classroom, वो किसी को भी पढ़ा देंगे. If you require a dedicated focus, then there should be a limited ratio. Maybe 1:50. One teacher, 50 student at most. By that 50 student, he can devote proper time. He can know every 50 student one by one. He can understand their each other's special problem. Not all 50 students will be the same. Everyone will have different socioeconomic background. Someone may come from a better family having a good parented education. Some people may come from a poor family, have nothing. Some people have other problem. Some people have other problem. And that is the responsibility of the teacher here, to give education according to student, not according to the class. That's why when you have too many students, they say, but you know, हमारे देश में क्या हालात है? We have no teachers. Professorship is good in India. Professorship is very good. Okay, they don't want to teach you, you don't want to study, so everyone is doing the good work. But teaching there is a problem. We have teachers, primary teachers, secondary teachers, senior secondary teacher. Government schools में they are treated like paid laborer. कुछ भी करवाते हैं उनसे, except teaching. Election duty you have to go, vaccination you have to go, census you have to go. When it comes to teaching, nobody cares. If you don't go to the class, nobody cares. If you don't go to election duty, terminated. So why would you take effort in teaching? The PAM role of teacher should be teaching only, and the teacher should be judged according to the teaching standard. And this is the thing we have. पर क्या कर सकते हैं? Provision अच्छा है, not implemented anyway. Next, teachers qualification, that all teachers must go through a teacher eligibility test administered by relevant government and must possess a degree, B.Ed basically. So these are the provisions with respect to good schooling. So with this comes a conclusion. We do not need any extra effort. If we implement RTE with due sincerity, we can change India's education system. We do not need Supermans, we do not need DMs, SP, whatever we do not need. Only thing we need is proper teaching standard. Implement RTE. It has very good provisions. If you implement RTE with a strict enforcement, less than 10% of schools in India are RTE compliant. Less than 10%. And primarily of those are private. So private you have a good teacher to people ratio, teacher are well qualified, everything is there. They have labs, they have infrastructure. Government is not available at all. So this is the problem. There are two students. One from a pathetic government school. Chalo, Delhi mein to schools have been improved very much. We will do that as a case study. Delhi mein schools have been improved very much because Delhi government devote 25% of its budget on schooling. The government schools in Delhi matches any private school you can imagine. Not all, but many. अदर स्टेट में बहुत बुरे हालात हैं, पर्टिकुलरली यूपी बिहार में तो बहुत ही बुरा. यूपी बिहार झारखंड उड़ीसा, दे हैव वेरी पैथेटिक कंडीशन ऑफ स्कूल. स्कूल छोड़ो, बस नाम है बोर्ड, बोर्ड लगा होता है, बाकी एवरीवन इज सिटिंग ऑन द ग्राउंड, नो टीचर, नथिंग इज अवेलेबल. This is a disaster, but we will understand why in a bit. Why government is not giving due focus on government schools. We will understand that in a bit. Next, responsibility of schools and teachers. As I told you, that no teacher shall engage in private tuition and non-teaching activity, but everyone is engaged. आपको पता ही होगा. If you go to school, so the teacher you are teaching in the school have a private institute also. वो कहता है मेरी ट्यूशन में आ जाना, I will tell you. And this is this is a problem, though illegal hai. No schooling teacher can provide any kind of private tuition or non-teaching activities. However, they can be used for census, disaster relief, election duties. इसमें उनका इस्तेमाल हो सकता है by law. But private institutions are not allowed, but nonetheless they are happening everywhere. Schools are mandated to form school management committees. It is not the government that will regulate schools. Who will regulate school under RTE? A school management committee, which will have people from the government, school management, administration, including students, parents. They all should be there, and they should analyze the functioning of the school. Make sure, जैसे आपने PTA होता है, parents teacher meeting, PTM होता है, parents teacher meeting, पर वो एक तरफा होती है, where the teacher calls the parents to tell कि उनका बच्चा कहाँ कहाँ किधर किधर नालायक है. ऐसे नहीं, parents teacher meeting का मतलब होता है that parents and teacher will come together, have a meeting and discuss the affairs of the school, not the affairs of the students. But nonetheless, it is not followed properly. Delhi में Modi, Kejriwal government has tried this, but not very functional. इसके बहुत reason we will understand in a bit. Anyway, ideas are good. So these are the two things which are the responsibility of the school: provide remedial classes, extra classes, more test, and test on demand. That's what you have. Comprehensive evaluation mechanism in school. Plus, there should be school management committees. Next, grievance redressal. If anyone has any problem with non-implementation of RTE, they can go to this body, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. They can go to his this body. They can make complaint. They can do whatever they want. However, the law also says that all state government can establish state commissions for grievance redressal, and no state has. किसी state में commission नहीं है. The only role we have is NCPCR that works for this. It takes care of the children. If you have a problem, you can go there. So what is the process here? You go to a government school. If they deny admission, you can go to a block education officer, through that district magistrate. If none of them hears, then NCPCR. But अब आता है main issue. Government school में कौन जाएगा? Of course, whose parents are not very well connected and well off. If they would be that much knowledgeable, that much connected, why their kids would be in government schools? So the problem here is the people who need these laws are either incompetent or unaware. The people who do not need these laws are completely powerful. This is the problem we have here. The people who need these laws are either incompetent or unaware. That's why a solution was given by Amartya Sen in particular, that you will do in governance also, chapter of education. Amartya Sen, he's a Nobel laureate, world recognized economist. He emphasized on school education. Emphasized on school education, but a single school system. There will be one school for the rich as well as the poor. The rich going to the school will make sure that the poor get the best facility. Now imagine there's a government school in a locality where a rickshaw puller's son is going on. Same school mein, the education secretary's son is also going. If there is no teacher available, if there is no water, no whatever, that son will go to his father and tell to the father, Papa, the teacher did not come. The education secretary will immediately dial to the education officer. क्या हो रहा है सब? Immediately that teacher will be terminated. So that teacher will be scared. The teacher will be concerned. The education department of that state will be concerned, because they know that the students coming into these classes are coming from powerful connected families. They're not coming from poor families. अभी सबको पता होता है government schools में that these majority of them, एक आध होगा तो अलग बात है, all of them are exclusively poor. So who cares? मैं क्लास में आऊं ना आऊं, मेरा क्या बिगाड़ लेंगे? To do that, they have to go to what? Block education officer, district magistrate. उनकी इतनी सुनी जाती तो बात ही क्या थी? And for that, he has to sacrifice his 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, maybe months wages. They cannot survive with a month's wage. They earn daily, they eat daily. You people may have monthly ration in your houses, but majority of India lives on daily ration. They work in a day, they get ration in the evening, and they eat the next day. That's how majority of India functions. So how would they enforce their rights? बात समझ में आया? That's a good idea, but the problem is, who will oppose this idea? The rich people would not tolerate their sons and daughters going to a school where the poor people come. They are the biggest point of resistance. They don't like this. ठीक है, clear this much? तो idea अच्छा है, not implementable. अब let's see what the Maharashtra school rules are saying. that private unaided schools located within 1 kilometer radius of a government or government aided school, means if there is a government school in the locality or a government aided school in a locality, then the unaided school will not have to provide 25% reservation. They are no longer required to reserve 25% of their seats for students from disadvantaged group and weaker section under RTE quota. The student of these area will be given priority for admission to government or aided schools. This news is a blessing in disguise. Why it's a blessing in disguise? Because now you're saying to everyone that you cannot study in private schools. So it means they have to study in government and unaided, sorry, government and aided private schools. There will be a pressure on the government to improve the services. Understand, the more the students study in private, the less is the pressure on the government to improve government schools. वो तो बंद करने को बैठी है बस. If you study more in private, तो वो तो बंद कर देंगे government school. बढ़िया है, जाओ मरो मेरे क्या है. Got the point? So understand this. So blessing in disguise. It will put pressure now on the government that if you are not taking them to the private one, then at least provide the better facility in the government one. Next, if there is no unaided school nearby, private school may still be selected for RTE admission. For this, the state will reimburse the fee of these students. So policy अच्छी है. Maharashtra government, this policy is a good one. The I think BJP Shiv alliance is going on there. So they have brought a very good policy. It will put pressure on the government to improve government schools and also give freedom to the private schools to live their life that they want. अब आते हैं reasons for exemption. मैंने आपको बता ही दिया. कौन सा वाला? ये. He simply says there are 3 schools I told you: government, aided, unaided. So if there is a government school in the locality or a government aided private school in a locality which must provide 25% reservation compulsory under RTE, then the private unaided schools do not have to provide reservation. They are free to do whatever they want. They are not under compulsion by the state. इससे फायदा ये होगा that all people will go to these schools, so government will be in a pressure to improve facilities. ठीक है. Second aspect of education is costly private education. These schools charge whatever they want beyond requirements just to earn profit. अब ऐसा होता क्यों है? Lesson reason for exemption मैंने आपको बता ही दिया. Because the private school was saying we are unaided, we do not receive facility. Why you are imposing this on us? Wrong है. You have a social responsibility, and education, health are not your personal private making properties. Having said that, this criticism that it will weaken effort to combat educational inequalities, notification contrary RTE spread. Why we are saying educational inequalities? Same reason. A person who studied in very good private unaided school and a person studying in pathetic government aided or government schools, now you're asking them, both of those kids, to apply for UPSC civil services. There is simply no comparison. As for example, there is an exam in GS prelims, CSET. If you are well versed in English, if English is your natural language, imagine you are born to a family जहाँ पे सारे अंग्रेजी पैदा हुए थे पहले दिन से. So in that family, you do not have to study CSET. If you have seen CSET paper, majority of the question are from comprehensions. And if you are very well versed in English, it is like your natural language. You do not have to study CSET. You will always clear it with flying marks. For example, I never studied CSET in my entire life, and I always scored more than 140. Reason being, English is my natural language. I speak English better than Hindi. I express my emotion in English better than Hindi. जबकि हिंदी में मैं पैदा हुआ था. ठीक है. तो दिस इज अ प्रॉब्लम विद अस. अंग्रेज हम बन नहीं पाए, भारतीय हम रह नहीं गए, कहीं बीच में फंस गए हम. ठीक है. एनीवे, this तो you are asking, for example, if I suggest a student do not study anything about CSET, तो ये तो बेवकूफी हुई ना. I am different. English is my natural language. It does not mean English is your natural language. In that scenario, a person who has spent his entire life in Hindi, now you are asking them to clear CSET exam. इसलिए protest हो रहा है. That's why the Hindi people are protesting against CSET exam, because they argue it is biased in favor of English speaker. और सही बात भी है. If you look at the people who clear civil services, 90% of them are English speaker. बहुत कम होते हैं हिंदी वाले. जबकि हिंदी इंडिया में इन गवर्नमेंट हिंदी प्रमोट करती है, यूनियन गवर्नमेंट प्रमोट्स हिंदी, बट इन ब्यूरोक्रेसी दे प्रमोट इंग्लिश. तो इन हिंदी वालों का पॉइंट गलत नहीं है, दे आर नॉट रॉन्ग, बट इंग्लिश वालों को क्या लगता है, these people are incompetent, these people don't want to work hard. ऐसा नहीं है, you are born with a language, you are advantageous. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि you have some special skill. You were well off, you were born into a family that speak English, you had English education since the day one. So it is the luck you are born with. इसमें आपका कुछ स्पेशल नहीं बना. Anyway, clear this point? So that's why it will fight with educational inequalities. Now the government, poor kids cannot go to very best quality private unaided schools. Okay, private unaided school are the best in class. They are literally best in class. So aided होते हैं, obviously बात है, if your school require government support, तो obviously बात है, you're not very good. तभी तो आप गवर्नमेंट के पैसे पे चल रहे हो, और गवर्नमेंट की तो सबको पता ही पता है. Private unaided are the best in class schools. Now you're removing 25%, at least 25% kid every year were getting equal education to a rich kid. अब वो भी चला गया. So this is one disadvantage. Clear है? So one advantage and one disadvantage. Advantage is that this policy will promote government schools and pressurize government to provide better facility. Disadvantage is that the educational inequality will further increase in Maharashtra. Clear this much? Now let us see arguments in favor. मैंने आपको बता दिया छोड़ो से. Now let's see a comparative study of public and private schools in India. Very important one. Please see this. Students' achievement. NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization, conducted a study on India's education. It found out that the students in private school in India perform better than those in government school in their learning outcome across all level of education. अब इसमें कोई रॉकेट साइंस तो है नहीं, सबको पता है बात. Of course, the outcome in the private school are better than the government schools. The reason being better facilities. So common sense है यार. You have better qualified teachers, better focus on the students, remedial classes, extra classes, curricular activities, good sporting complex, good sports complex, good laboratory. So of course you will have a better outcome. So इसमें कोई rocket science नहीं है, हमें पहले से पता था. दूसरी चीज, enrollment rates. According to District Information System for Education, DISE, it's a system of the government which basically collect statistic on education. According to it, the proportion of students enrolled in private schools in elementary education in India was 31.4, which has increased. Jabki enrollment in government school have decreased. Enrollment in private is increasing, enrollment in government is decreasing. Parents take a lot of loans. They take money from here, there, and there just to get their kid in a private school. Who is responsible for this? Government. Highly incompetent governments are responsible. That they cannot provide a good education to their citizens. And the Amrit Kal is here. देखते हैं Amrit Kal के बारे में और भी. Quality of infrastructure, ये तो common sense हम सबको पता है. Of course, the private has better infrastructure than government. But when you're writing any question in mains or giving an argument in interview, ये सब हम सबको पता है. But when you use a scholar, when you use a report as a reference point, the quality of your answer increases. Let's suppose I write this argument without any mention of any report. So any teacher will give me, for example, 9 marks out of 15 if I write a very good one. If you mention report, he will of course give 1 marks extra. जैसे आपने देखा ना, everyone who wants to make भंगार argument, they quote somebody. Gandhi said this. Gandhi ने बोला भी ना हो. Gandhi said this because they know as soon as I use the word Gandhi, so कोई भी भंगार में आप पे चेपूंगा, आपको पसंद आएगी. That's how it works. Psychological biases. So you use the psychological biases whenever you're writing an answer. Try to make sure at least one scholar or one report per answer. One से ज्यादा मत जाना, जरूरत नहीं है, पर एक रिपोर्ट तो मेंशन करो ताकि whosoever is checking your answer, GS answer I am saying, उसको लगे नहीं कि तुम कुछ भी भंगार पेल रहे हो. Because these are humanities answer. सबको सब पता है. अब ह्यूमैनिटीज में क्वेश्चन आएगा व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम इन एजुकेशन. अरे हमें पता है व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम इन एजुकेशन, हम तो उसी से निकले हैं. यू कैन राइट इजी आंसर, बिना पढ़े लिख दोगे आप, पर वो नहीं चाहते. हम क्या चाहते हैं, एक आध रिपोर्ट चेप देना. ठीक है, तो इसलिए रिमेंबर दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग. सो प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस, इसको याद रखिएगा, डाइस को. ठीक है, क्लियर है. नेक्स्ट, टीचर्स क्वालिफिकेशन, कॉमन सेंस हम सबको पता है, बट नॉनदलेस रिपोर्ट का देख लेते हैं. प्राइवेट स्कूल ऑफर्स टीचर्स विद बेटर क्वालिफिकेशन एंड एक्सपीरियंस एंड गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स. अकॉर्डिंग टू द रिपोर्ट, percentage of teacher with graduate degree in government is around 60%, जबकि compared to 80.6% in private schools. Cost of education, ये तो हमें वैसे भी पता है, the cost of education in private is excessively high. But इसका नाम आप याद रखेंगे. Please remember this name forever. Acer report. It's a very credible, it's an NGO. NGO Pratham, I believe. NGO Pratham published this report known as Annual Survey of Education Report. It's a very credible report. Every government machinery in India uses this report. Please remember this name. कोई भी आंसर एजुकेशन में है, इसे पेल देना. ठीक है? Please remember this. Now let us see the reasons why the government school education in India is pathetic and why the private is better. Why it is happening? Let's see. Initially, education was provided by entrepreneurs and religious organizations. जैसे आपको पता ही होगा, इंडिया में you had the madrasas in Islam and Hinduism में you have मठ होते हैं हिंदुइज्म में, और आश्रम्स. तो there was an intermixing of religion and education. इंडिया में even till medieval time, even till Britishers came into power, India में you had madrasas for Muslim students and mutt and ashrams for Hindus. Who demolished this thing? Britishers. Britishers came. Lord Macaulay का आप नाम याद रखेंगे. Lord Macaulay. Lord Macaulay was appointed. Spelling check कर लेना. Lord Macaulay was appointed by the British government on education system in India. He said, if you want to colonize Indians, if you want to capture Indians, capture their mind first. To do that, demolish their culture. And to demolish their culture, demolish their language. Because language is used for communicating culture. If I speak in a Tamil right now, किसी को कुछ समझ नहीं आएगा. You're understanding because I'm speaking a language you understand right now. So that's why English-based education was introduced in India. And if I speak English, तो obviously बात है, you will understand me better than anyone else. So you will understand Britishers better than anyone else. That's why when you will study modern Indian history, there are phases: moderate, extremist, revolutionary. The moderates were the believer that British Empire is good for India. They were the believer. Dada Bhai Naroji and all. They used to say Britishers are justice-loving people. Why they believed in this? Because which education they are receiving? English-based. So you understand British culture better than your own culture. You may not have read Vedas or whatever, but you must have read some novel in English, some article in English you read. But Hindi पढ़ने में प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है, संस्कृत तो सवाल ही नहीं बनता. So you understand Britishers better than your own culture. That's how they colonize Indians. That's how they ruled over us for 300 years. छोटे सोचिए, मुट्ठी भर ब्रिटिश और समुद्र भर इंडियंस तब भी कंट्रोल कर लिया, because they controlled this. Clear this much? So initially the education in the world was provided by entrepreneurs and religious organizations. Example in India was madrasas and mutt and ashrams. But Prussia में बदलाव आता है. Prussia, it is the earlier name of Germany. Prussia was a Germany. Prussia expanded and became Germany. Prussia in 18th century government began to take over. Initially, education in the world was controlled by religious organizations. Then state came in. State took away the control from the religion. And why this happened? आप when you will study polity, IR वगैरह पढ़ेंगे, तो you will study about a treaty. एक treaty है जिसका नाम है Treaty of Westphalia. As the part of world history भी आप पढ़ेंगे. Initially, the religion controlled everything, particularly Europe में church. In 17th century, there was a fight between church and state. State basically means king and the queens. They said to the church, how come you dictate me? I am the king. I control this land. I provide for them. I take care of everything. You, the Pope, the religious head in Christianity, sitting in Rome, dictating me. How is it there? So there was a big war known as 30 years. 30 साल तक ये लड़ाई चली थी. 30-year war between the state and the church. The church was defeated. Basically, religion was defeated by the state. And this treaty gave birth to the modern states. जिसे आज आप देखते हैं. Today, the states that you have in the world are known as modern states. Modern states have a fixed territory, a population, and sovereign in the form of government chosen by the people. तो बदलाव क्यों आया 17th सेंचुरी. तो देखिए ईयर बड़ा कमाल का 18th. 17th सेंचुरी में state became supreme over religion, and so state controlled education as well. क्यों? क्योंकि state को एक बात समझ में आ गई. Education means control over mind. If I control your education, I control you. When you're a student, for example, youngly born kid, you're going to school education. आपको नहीं पता है. You don't know anything about history, polity, economy. I am your government. If I change your history books according to my liking, I can make bad people good people. I can make good people bad people. जैसे recently एक change आया है NCERT books में, अगर आपको पता हो तो. है पता है कौन सा change आया है? पहला, Mughals have been diluted, not हटाया नहीं है, dilute कर दिया. Second, Nathuram Godse's name has been removed from NCERT book, and some radical word is used, and his religion is also removed. Why? Of course, the government is in power is Hindu right wing, which believes what Nathuram Godse did was particularly not wrong, not right also, but also not wrong. They see that he was a victim of the circumstances led to a violence. Anyway, his name is now removed. तो आपने पढ़ा होगा उसका नाम स्कूल बुक में, आपके आने वाले बच्चे नहीं पढ़ेंगे. If your kid do not know that person, then the kid will not know the critical point of India's history. Then that is how I will control your mind. बात समझ में आई? So we understood this. State became supreme over religion in Treaty of Westphalia. They understood to control minds, I have to control education. So they took control back from religion. And the control was transferred from religious organization to state. Clear है? And then it spread around the world. Around the world, government. पहले government इतना interest नहीं लेता था education में. Education was always left to private entrepreneurship. जैसे इंडिया में तक्षशिला, नालंदा, they were not government organization, they were private entrepreneurship. Nalanda and Takshila both were associated with Buddhism, particularly Nalanda. So Buddhists started Nalanda, which is known as the India's or world's first residential university. Nalanda is known as world's first residential university. It was associated with Buddhism. So Buddhists started that, but yet all sciences were taught there. Not only Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, सब कुछ पढ़ाया जाता था वहां पे. So that to make you more wide broad. जबकि किसने स्टार्ट की थी? बुद्धिस्ट. तो पहले एजुकेशन जो होता था ना, it was very much linked with religion. But when state became supreme, state took education away from religion, and from this point starts secular education. अब सोचिए, you are born into a 7th century Britain. तो अब वो of course you will study in a Christian related education system. अब वो क्रिश्चियन मोनेस्ट्री में आपको क्या पढ़ाया जाएगा? क्रिश्चियनिटी सुप्रीम. जीसस ने जो बोला वही साइंस है. साइंस में आपको ये नहीं पढ़ाया जाएगा कि अर्थ रिवॉल्व्स अराउंड द सन. क्या पढ़ाया जाएगा? द सन रिवॉल्व्स अराउंड द अर्थ. Christianity believes that sun revolves around the earth, but from scientific fact we know that the earth revolves around the sun. But if you are taught into a 17th century में पैदा हुए हैं and studying in a Christian school, तो आपको क्या पढ़ाएंगे? Of course, the sun revolves around the earth, and Jesus is the God reincarnated. Whatever he said is the ultimate truth, and you have to live according to the 10 tenets of Jesus. और आप तो यार पैदा हुए बच्चों, आपको क्या पता राजनीति क्या होती है? तो you're like, जो बोला जा रहा है सत्य है. You're a small grown kid, आपको नहीं पता what is true, what is false. That's how mental control works. लेकिन जब state supreme बनी, इसने करना अब ये ना चलेगा. So we started take control away from the religion, and we started secular education. Education emphasizing on rationality, because reason is the enemy of religion. Reason religion साथ में नहीं चलते कभी. If you use reason, religion cannot exist. Religion is belief. जैसे कबीर ने कहा है, मानो तो गॉड, नहीं तो मानो पत्थर. मानो तो गॉड, नहीं तो पत्थर है. If you believe, then there's a god in a statue, otherwise it's a stone marble, nothing more than that. So it's all about belief. Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, जो भी आप मानते होंगे, if you believe in that, that's how it works. If you don't believe in it, it dismantles. So I want you to not believe. I means who? State. If you believe in religion, then you will empower church, not the state. But I want you to believe in me. That's how secular education start. Clear है the history?
Yes, sir. Sir, a question. Sir,
हाँ
in
जी यशवी जी
Finland
जल्दी
there is
बोलिए.
no tuition fees, so
Sorry, what?
in Finland there is no tuition fees, so all the students study in only one school. There is no different school for the rich and poor. How is that possible?
How is that possible? उसके लिए तो फिनलैंड की स्टडी करना पड़ेगा.
Means
I
no
would have to.
tuition fees.
हो सकता है because Nordic countries have a very different schooling system. They don't believe in bookish schooling system. They have believes in growth schooling system. ठीक है, they allow to play and everything you want to have.
Okay, sir.
Doesn't matter what I believe, Nazir. The removal of Nathuram gods is a political issue. तो उसमें मेरे belief से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. हो गया तो हो गया. ठीक है, उसमें मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? Having said this, nothing is permanent. Always remember, everything changes. भविष्य में कोई गवर्नमेंट आएगी, वो फिर डाल देगी नाम. टेंशन ना लेना. चलिए. So over time, the state has dominated education both to respond to the people's ambition and to shape minds of the next generation. Rational समझ में आया सबको? I want to weaken religion. I want to weaken church and empower me, the king. So of course, I started to control education because through that I can control your mind, and that's how secular education was born. Then rather than the religious education, the same thing was done by Britishers in India, Lord Macaulay. ठीक है, please remember that. But अब एक बदलाव आ गया. तो this is history. Now come to the present. But now we are seeing that private sector is enjoying a resurgence around the world. Around the world, private education is rising. But एक चीज हमने there is a pattern we have noticed. The pattern is that the increase are not happening in rich world. It is happening in low end. So private school, private education is rising in middle income group, developing countries, LDCs. Rich countries में private education is not rising that much. Their government education is the primary source of education. Why is it so? Because obviously बात है, I'm a rich country, I'm a rich government, so I can provide very good government schools. So why would you crave for a private school? What is the prime reason parents want their kid into a private school? Of course, quality of education. जब मैं एक अमीर गवर्नमेंट हूँ, I have a lot of money like America. So I can establish any good private school. जैसे दिल्ली का केस ले लीजिए. Why Delhi has a good education model? Because दिल्ली पे जिम्मेदारियां कम है, पैसा बहुत है. Delhi is more or less a UT kind of setup. Majority of the expenditure in Delhi are done by the union government because land and police, जिसमें सबसे ज्यादा खर्चा होता है, both are with the union government. तो मोदी जी spend on land and आपका policing, which takes the maximum part of the state fund. तो दिल्ली सरकार पे पैसा ज्यादा है, खर्चे कम है. And so Delhi government can give 25% of its budget to education, and that's how Delhi schools are very well in front of even private schools. That's the reason. If you are a rich country, you can afford good quality government schools. Why would the parents in that country will prefer private schooling? इसीलिए private schools are increasing in developing and LDCs, because here the government is weak. It does not have sufficient money for a good government school, and so parents who want to secure a good future for their kids prefer private one. ठीक है, जैसे यहाँ पे मैंने एग्जांपल लिखा, हेती इज अ लीस्ट डेवलप्ड कंट्री, हैज 80% ऑफ द स्कूल स्टूडेंट्स इन प्राइवेट, जबकि जर्मनी में कितने हैं? केवल 5%. Why is it so? Because Germany is a rich country, it can afford good schooling system, so वहां पे जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. अब let's see case of India. An analysis was published by researcher Blair Bead at MIT USA, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, USA में है. तो she published, और he जो भी है पता नहीं मुझे, so this person published a study that there is a massive explosion of private managed education. India में right now we are seeing a massive explosion of private education in every state. Also an analysis by Professor Geeta Gandhi Kingdon of Institute of Education London. इन दोनों ने स्टडी करी, अलग अलग स्टडी है, उसकी अलग है, इसकी अलग है. And both found one common thing, that government schools in India are declining. जैसे government schools, enrollment in government schools decreased by 13 million, 1.3 crore. People preferred not to go in government school. जबकि private में कितने बढ़ गए? 17.5. So one thing is very clear, India में government schooling is getting weakened and private schooling is getting stronger and stronger. And why is it happening? Based on their analysis, they gave these three reasons. Pehla reason, because of India's competitive election system. India mein you have so many parties competing in elections. Margin of victory is very small, particularly in state elections. बहुत छोटा होता है. 1,100 votes पे सरकारें बदल जाती हैं. So there is a margin very small, and education is a tool not only to give you education but also to control your minds. अब पहली चीज ये होगी. दूसरी, I am trying to become your MLA or MP. To fight election, I need paisa, money. Who will give me the money? Capitalist, the local businessman. लोग आप भी देते हैं. Common people also give funding to political party, पर आपकी funding कितनी होगी? 1 या 2% of the entire political. मुझे चाहिए 20 करोड़ रुपए, आप क्या दे दोगे? 2 लाख रुपए. तो बाकी कहां से आएगा? बाकी आएगा कैपिटलिस्ट से. द कैपिटलिस्ट विल गिव दैट मनी. ऑब्वियसली बात है, इफ आई एम अ कैपिटलिस्ट, आई गिव यू मनी फॉर फाइटिंग इलेक्शन, तो आई वांट यू टू स्ट्रेंथन गवर्नमेंट स्कूल और वीकन देम. Weaken them. If you will not weaken them, then how would these kids will come to my private school? This is the prime problem. Intentionally, government schools are weakened in India, are being weakened in India, so that the private schools can be promoted. If you look at the management structure of private schools, कभी notice करना जिसमें भी आप पढ़े होगे, look at their board of directors or trustees. You will find 1 or 2% belonging to your local MLA or MP in the board. हमेशा होता है. Your local MLA or MP, उसकी wife, husband या जो भी व्यक्ति होता है, somebody related to your local MP, MLA must be in the board of directors or board of trustees of that school. I'm talking about good private school. And of course, if more people, board of directors में मिलते fees. The board of directors get fees per sitting. The more number of sitting, the more the fee, and they are paid in crores of rupees, sometimes lakhs, छोटे schools में. In that scenario, if students will not come to the school, how would I pay you the fee? How would you get super rich? Intentionally, government schools are weakened in India so that private schools can be promoted, because these people give funding to your MP, MLAs to fight elections, and when they come into government, they do their bidding rather than your bidding. Second, I am an MP, MLA, मैं कई बार मैं खुद ही स्कूल से शुरू कर देता हूँ. ये शायद तीसरा पॉइंट है, पता नहीं कौन सा पॉइंट है. पहला ही है, the politician often make appearances at the school or even start their own schools to build enduring connection with the local community. मैं खुद एक स्कूल स्टार्ट करूंगा. I will start a school. In that school, I will give 80% people private, 20% I will give to poor people admission, and I will have photo op and I will circulate in the entire local community. देखो मेरा कितना बड़ा दिल है. That's how the control works. सबको समझ में आ रहा है? The prime problem is political necessity of money, of corruption, of greed of your local MPs and MLAs that forces them to weaken government school to strengthen private schools. और second तो आपको पता ही है, believe among parents. Parents believe that private schools are better than government schools. Third point मैंने आपको बता ही दिया, funding की जरूरत पड़ती है. Because money के बिना कुछ नहीं होगा ना नाज़िर. It is, I'm not saying corruption. You require money for even fair election. Fair election में क्या है? For example, you will do rallies, you will do programs. वो free में तो होगा नहीं कुछ भी. भाई rallies में करने के लिए भी you require people. अगर आपने कभी rally attend करा तो आपको पता है सबको पैसा मिलता है. Vary करता है. If you go into rallies and everything, you are paid accordingly. So imagine करिए मोदी जी की या राहुल गांधी की रैली हो रही है. उसमें वो लाखों करोड़ लोग आते कहाँ से हैं, पर वो वोट में नहीं आते. You have seen this pattern. Rallies may you have lakhs of people. The entire road is filled for kilometers. But when the voting result comes, that person loses the election. ये कैसे हुआ? Of course, majority of them are paid. They say to their local कार्यकर्ता कि अपने घर से 5-6 उठा के लाना, and जो रास्ते में मिल जाए सबको पकड़ के झंडा पकड़ा देना, and give them 500 rupees on the other hand. ठीक है, तो उसके लिए पैसा लगता है. He's saying if you're good, then why you need rallies? Because politics में goodness does not work, truth does not work, perception works. कितनी बार समझाया मैंने आपको? Politics is all about perception game. इससे कोई मतलब नहीं आप दुनिया के सबसे बड़े हरिश्चंद्र होंगे, सत्यवादी हरिश्चंद्र. If I can make a perception among the people you are the biggest liar born on earth, doesn't matter what you are, you're done. Politics is all about perception. It is not about truth. ठीक है, forget that myth. हर पार्टी करती है, बीजेपी को ब्लेम मत करो, सब करते हैं. ठीक है, सभी करते हैं इसमें. केस स्टडी नेक्स्ट. हाँ, सो देयर इज अ केस स्टडी व्हिच हाइलाइट्स दिस पर्टिकुलर प्रॉब्लम वी आर हैविंग. उसके बाद हम मूव करेंगे अगली न्यूज़ पे. दिस इज अ इंपॉर्टेंट वन, इसलिए मैं इतना टाइम इस पे डिवोट कर रहा हूँ. प्लीज गो थ्रू इन डिटेल. अब लेट्स सी. हरियाणा गवर्नमेंट ब्रॉट अ स्कीम नोन एज चिराग. Haryana government brought a scheme known as Chirag scheme. Under this, government schools, if you study, if you're a government school student, if you study in a private school, if your family has an annual income less than 1.8 lakh, you can go into a private school. You're studying in a government school, your parents have less than 1.8 lakh income annual, then you can go to a private school and government will reimburse your fee. So if you go to a private school, government will pay your fee. But at the same time, if you go to a government school, you will pay your own fee. So which school you will prefer? Private. Over time, you all will switch to private school. Then I will say, what is the point of keeping an empty school? So would I close it or keep it? क्या बनाओगे? अरे यहाँ हॉस्पिटल तो बन गया. ठीक है. What would I? हॉस्पिटल में भी तो सेम प्रॉब्लम है, प्राइवेटाइजेशन ऑफ हेल्थ केयर. Very severe problem. जानबूझ के गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल्स आर नॉट इम्प्रूव सो दैट अ प्राइवेट कैन बी इम्प्रूव. वरना फंडिंग आएगी कहाँ से? ये सारा प्रॉब्लम देखिए, पता क्या सारा प्रॉब्लम फंडिंग का है. This private capitalist entrepreneurship based funding is the prime reason the governments are control around the world. किसी भी देश में ले जाओ, even to the communist China. Communist China में भी the government does not run for the people, it run for few people. It's a severe problem in every country. Few people with money controls government around the world. Doesn't matter the country you speak. चाहे कम्युनिस्ट हो चाहे कैपिटलिस्ट हो. कैपिटलिस्ट में थोड़ा ज्यादा हो जाता है, बस ये फर्क है. एनीवे, सो बहुत प्यारी स्कीम थी. Under this, if you go to a private school, government will pay your fee. If you're in a government school above 8th, क्योंकि 8th तक तो फी लगा नहीं सकते, above 8th you will pay the nominal fee. Of course, you will prefer a private one. Over time, the government will close down. What is the intellectual foundation of this? The intellectual foundation is कहाँ गया? Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman is a scholar. He gave a theory of education. In that, he emphasized the role of state in education. He argued that what kind of role state can play in education. But one thing remember about Milton Friedman, he's a pure capitalist. He's a pure pro-market, pro-demand and supply. Something new students के लिए मैं बता दूं, it is known as neoliberalism. Today you live in a neoliberal world. Neoliberalism means market fundamentalism. It means that everything shall be governed by demand and supply. The government will not interfere. That is known as neoliberalism. Milton Friedman is one of the strongest advocate of neoliberalism. Okay? So obviously बात है, if he is an advocate of neoliberalism, so what would he promote? Capitalist education or government education? Capitalist. That's the role he said. And the concept he coined is known as कहाँ गया इसमें? हाँ, neighborhood benefit. The concept he coined was neighborhood benefit, which is also known by the name of the school voucher. इसी philosophy based है हरियाणा की चिराग स्कीम. देखते हैं कैसे काम करेगा. According to Milton Friedman, the government's role in education, because after Treaty of Westphalia in 18th century, government started to control education. so that they can control the mind of the young generation and can move them away from religion towards science, towards rationality, and towards supporting the king rather than the church. But over time, private entrepreneurship they came into being, and they starting taking away education from the government. But government इसे resist नहीं कर रहा. क्यों नहीं कर रहा? Because government is not fearful of capitalist. Government is fearful of religion. Because church, if becomes strong, it will weaken the state. बात समझे? Religion becomes strong, it weakens a rational modern state. Capitalist ऐसी कोई problem नहीं है. Capitalist runs on profit. वो किसी religion को promote नहीं कर रहे. They do not care about the religion. They only care about profit. That is their God. उससे मुझे खतरा नहीं है. Profit है, करते रहो. इसलिए the governments are not resisting capitalist control on education, but they resist religious control on education. You see this pattern news में. Whenever there is a news that government is trying to promote religion, जैसे for example गीता कुरान promote कर रही है, immediate news बन जाता है. Why we think that putting religion in education is bad? Religion can also be a moralizing force because of the perception made by capitalists. अगर religion based education हो जाएगा, then the religion will again take over education. And then how would I run it as a profit enterprise? बात समझे? That's you need to understand. So shift एक समझ में आया? From religion control education to state control education to capitalist control education. And that is because of neoliberalism, which says that everything shall be governed by demand and supply, market forces, state or the government should not intervene. And Milton Friedman said that the school should be funded by the government because schools are important for producing values required for democratic functioning. Very obvious, you are a young kid. अगर मैं आपको communism सिखाऊंगा तो आप communist बनोगे. अगर मैं आपको कैपिटलिज्म सिखाऊंगा तो आप कैपिटलिस्ट बनोगे. अगर मैं आपको डेमोक्रेसी सिखाऊंगा तो आप डेमोक्रेट्स बनोगे. दैट्स हाउ मेंटल शेपिंग वर्क्स. इसीलिए डिपेंडिंग व्हाट काइंड ऑफ एजुकेशन यू रिसीव, यू बिकम्स दैट पर्सन. यू आर बोर्न इनटू अ कल्चर बट यू अडॉप्ट आइडियोलॉजी. रिलीजन आपके पेरेंट्स ने आपको दिया, कास्ट आपको सोसाइटी ने दे दिया, जेंडर मिल दिया, सब कुछ मिल गया. आइडियोलॉजी एक ऐसी चीज है जो आप खुद चुनते हैं. Accept ideology, everything is given by the society to you, ranging from your race, religion, caste, gender, सब कुछ society देता है. सिर्फ ideology something you rationally choose. कहाँ से? schools and universities. That is what he said, that schools, if funded by the government, they can promote democratic functioning, they can promote democracy. That is what he called neighborhood benefit. और कैसी? government education नहीं. What government will do? Government will issue voucher known as school vouchers. Government will give voucher. Say for example, 10,000 rupee voucher to every parent. Then they will be all private school. Government school nahi hoga. They will be all private schools. Government will give you a voucher. You can take that voucher and go to any private school and get admission. That school will take that voucher and give to the government and receive the money. So this is called government funded capitalism. दोबारा मैं रिपीट करता हूं कैसे वर्क करेगा. Under this Milton Friedman's idea, government will give you a voucher known as school voucher of some money. You will take that voucher and you can select any private education institute. You will give that voucher to the school. The school will take that voucher to the state and take the money. इसमें capitalism कैसे promote हुआ? Because government will not give you education. They will be all private schools who will compete with each other. Say for example, Mr. Adani's school, Ambani's school, Gupta's school, Shukla's school. They will be different schools, private schools. They will fight for you. वो कहेगा I will provide you better laboratories. वो कहेगा I will provide you better teachers. So everyone will compete because it's a purely competitive market system. Government school नहीं होगा. They will compete for better education or whatever is there because they have to maximize profit. To maximize profit, they have to maximize customer satisfaction. So basically, he is converting education into what? Customer-client relationship. He's converting education into not a welfare activity but a business model in which there will be private schools of various companies, corporation, NGO, whatever is there, and you will have the money. क्योंकि देखिए हर किसी पे पैसा होता नहीं प्राइवेट एजुकेशन का, तो उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट क्या करेगी, आपको वाउचर देगी, जैसे बोलेंगे स्कूल वाउचर. इसी आइडियोलॉजी पे बेस करते हुए मुझे उम्मीद नहीं है हरियाणा के ऑफिशियल को ये पता होगा, उनको ये फिलोसफी नहीं पता होगी, पर हाँ आइडिया उन्हें पता है. तो चिराग स्कीम सेम है. चिराग स्कीम में क्या हो रहा है, इफ यू गो टू अ प्राइवेट स्कूल द गवर्नमेंट विल फंड योर एजुकेशन, इफ यू गो टू अ गवर्नमेंट स्कूल यू विल पे द मनी. हालांकि ये हटा दी गई, सक्सेसफुल नहीं हुई, बहुत क्रिटिसिज्म हुआ इसका. सबको कंसेप्ट क्लियर हो रहा है? नेबरहुड बेनिफिट इज अ टर्म यूज्ड बाय मिल्टन फ्रीडमैन. उसका रियल लाइफ नेम है स्कूल वाउचर, नाम अलग है, काम एक ही है. क्लियर टू एवरीवन? ऑनलाइन पीपल क्लियर है सबको? ठीक है, बाकी पढ़ लेना. अब दिस वाज द क्रिटिसिज्म बाय दिस हरियाणा विद्यालय अध्यापक संघ. They argue that this scheme, Chirag scheme, aims to promote private school at the cost of government school. वो कह रहे हैं यार आप इतना पैसा काहे लगा रहे हो उसमें, the money that you will give to the student for private schooling, उस पैसे को गवर्नमेंट में क्यों नहीं लगाते. एक और बार रिपीट करना है, उसे मैं रिपीट कर देता हूं दोबारा से. मिल्टन फ्रीडमैन said that there should be no government school because Milton Friedman is a pure capitalist. He's a pure believer of neoliberalism, a market determined setup. So he says, because everyone cannot afford private education is costly. So there will be no government schools, there will be all private schools who will compete with each other for students. In that process, the state will issue vouchers to the parents of the kids. And then parents can choose any of the private schools. Jitne bhi hain. You can choose any of the private schools, go to there, give the voucher. The private school will encash the voucher from the state. इस प्रोसेस में competition is also promoted, but a government funded competition, because private school will compete for students the way जैसे आपने देखा होगा जब आप यहाँ पे एडमिशन लेने आए होंगे तो यू मस्ट हैव सीन अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल कि आओ मैडम ये देख लो यहाँ पे हमारा ये मिलता है. सेम मैकेनिज्म होगा, बस फर्क ये होगा कि अभी आपके पेरेंट्स आपके फंडिंग कर रहे हैं, फिर स्टेट करेगा, पर मैकेनिज्म सेम रहेगा. दे विल बी ओनली, गवर्नमेंट तो कोचिंग देती नहीं है, दे ऑल प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूट. सो प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूट गिव्स यू कोचिंग, बट आपको फंड कौन करता है, योर पेरेंट्स. पर पेरेंट्स को हटा दो, कौन फंड करेगा, स्टेट. बात समझ रहे हैं सबको? अब क्लियर है ऑनलाइन पीपल?
Sir, it will increase taxes.
विल इंक्रीज टैक्सेस, तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है, डजंट मैटर. देखिए एज लॉन्ग एज एजुकेशन इज गिवन, हेल्थ इज गिवन, टैक्स का कोई मतलब नहीं है. टैक्स का मतलब ही इसीलिए होता है.
The present scenario is going on there, no?
सॉरी व्हाट?
The present is going on this method.
Yes, the present is, that is what we are discussing now. This is the present you are having. That's how, that is the reason that private institutes in India are increasing at a rapid pace and government schools are falling. Intentionally, government schools are being killed so that the private schools can be promoted. Simple rationale. अब ये जो भी इन्होंने बोला, हाँ इन्होंने क्या बोला, द संघ, द हरियाणा संघ, विद्यालय अध्यापक संघ, टीचर्स काउंसिल बेसिकली, this association of teachers of Haryana has said, you are spending crores of rupees on Chirag scheme. Why don't you give that money to the teachers? Why don't you recruit more teachers, give them more training, make more schools? जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी. You are ready to give crores of rupees to fund private schooling. Why don't you divert that money for recruiting more teachers? जैसे इन्होंने बताया, हरियाणा में लगभग 50,000 vacancies are vacant, or you can go to any state. Thousands, lack of vacancies around the country, lack of teachers vacancies are pending. सरकार जानबूझ के नहीं भर रही है उन्हें. प्राइवेट स्कूल कैसे प्रमोट होंगे? If you will have more teachers in government school, then government schooling will improve. Then how would you promote private schools? यही रीजन है why more doctors are not recruited. Why government does not, government चाहे तो for example government, अगर आपको पता हो right now सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने बताया था पार्लियामेंट में, there are around 60 lakh vacancies. गवर्नमेंट के पास 60 लाख पोजीशन खाली पड़े हैं. सॉरी 60 लाख नहीं, 6 लाख था, सॉरी 6 लाख के करीब पोजीशन खाली पड़े हैं, 6 लाख पोजीशन. और सोचिए फॉर अ कौन सा एग्जाम हुआ था अभी यूपी में, RO का, I think 50 lakh something people applied for thousands of vacancies. Why this much of unemployment? आप 7 लाख पोजीशन भर नहीं सकते क्या? भरेंगे नहीं. क्यों नहीं भरेंगे? प्राइवेटाइजेशन कैसे होगा? If we will fill those vacancies, government vacancies will be filled, then how would I move to privatization? I have to reduce government vacancies. इसलिए you can go to any government department, you will find vacant position. Same हरियाणा में कितनी है लगभग? You can spend money on private schooling. Spend that money on recruiting these people. अभी बोल दो ना रिक्रूटमेंट कर लो, तो सरकार क्या बोलती है? पैसा ही नहीं है हमारे पास. If you say to the government, recruit more people, they are like, we don't have this much of money to pay salaries. But you can fund this. This is the criticism. Clear everything? So please remember this all. अब पढ़ लेना जो भी है. जल्दी से हम नेक्स्ट पे जाते हैं. Amendment to Surrogacy Law. The second news is with respect to Surrogacy Act. Recent में एक अच्छी amendment आई है इसमें. The central government has amended the surrogacy rules 2020 to permit the use of donor gamete, which consists of sperms and the egg cells. Let's understand what is surrogacy. Surrogacy means when a couple is unable to conceive naturally, they take the help of the third person, known as surrogate. अब surrogacy was not regulated in India until 2021 शायद, हाँ 2021 act तक. 2021 में government passed a law, that is Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021. This act has some problem, some strength. पहली problem और strength आप कह सकते हैं. About surrogacy पे पहले आइए. Surrogacy, I told you, it is an arrangement in which a woman known as surrogate agrees to undergo pregnancy and childbirth on behalf of another individual or couple, referred to as intended parents. Up there are two varieties of surrogacy. One is known as commercial and altruistic. One is known as altruistic surrogacy, another is known as commercial surrogacy. Altruistic means when some woman goes as a surrogate for someone for altruistic purposes, not money purposes. Just like you have seen a lot of news, the sisters, the mother-in-law, and a lot of cases where they give birth to their children. बहुत से cases where the mother-in-law have born the kids of the India में तो नहीं होता ऐसा, वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ. ठीक है, अमेरिका में भी हुआ था. देयर वाज अ मदर इन लॉ, शी बोर्न द किड ऑफ देयर किड्स बिकॉज दे वर अनेबल टू कंसीव नेचुरली, सो शी बिकेम द सरोगेट. अब वो पैसा तो चार्ज करेगी नहीं अपने बेटे से या अपनी बेटी से, अपनी बहू से. फॉर दैट शी डिड दिस, एंड इट्स अ वेरी कॉमन प्रैक्टिस इन अ लॉट ऑफ फैमिलीज. इंडिया में इतना पास के रिलेशन में नहीं होता. इंडिया में जनरली द सिस्टर्स एंड सिस्टर इन लॉ आर नॉट प्रेफर्ड, बट यस इट डज हैपन इन अ बिट रिलेटिव्स, जैसे कजन, उस रिलेशन में चले जाते हैं. अब इसमें क्या है, द पर्सन बिकम सरोगेट, दिस इज कॉल्ड अल्ट्रुइस्टिक सरोगेसी. समझ रहे सरोगेसी क्या है? अल्ट्रुइस्टिक, where the woman is willing to become a surrogate but not for money but for other than money purposes, basically altruism. Altruism को हिंदी में पता नहीं क्या बोलते हैं. Anyway, पढ़ लो इसे. It involves no financial compensation. Next is commercial. Commercial surrogacy is when the third person who is doing surrogacy for money. Simply, commercial surrogacy माने surrogacy for money, altruistic माने surrogacy without money for other than money purposes. अब this bill, the so-called law known as Surrogacy Regulation Act, it bans commercial surrogacy. Under this law, commercial surrogacy cannot happen. Only altruistic surrogacy can happen. Means somebody can become the surrogate only for helping you to have a kid, not for any other purposes. आप साइंस एंड टेक में पढ़ेंगे टू टेक्नोलॉजी, IVF एंड IUF, in vitro fertilization and intrauterine fertilization. साइंस एंड टेक में पढ़ेंगे, डिफरेंट टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं. In vitro fertilization means where the egg and the sperms are fused in a lab and then implanted into a woman. That is called IVF. एक होता है IUF, in which the sperm is directly delivered to the fallopian tubes. आपको पता होगा fertilization of eggs happen in fallopian tube, then it travel to uterus and attach to the wall. बात समझ में आई? तो IVF में you fertilize the egg in a laboratory in a petri dish and then install that into a woman. IUF में you directly fertilize the egg by artificially taking the sperm to the fallopian tubes. IUF is used when the sperm do not have virility. You have seen that tail that rotates. If sperm is perfectly good, sperm cell, which is at the head of the sperm, is perfectly good, but it is not having a virility, means it cannot travel. In that scenario, IUF is allowed. But बाकी केस में IVF करना पड़ता है, because IVF में you artificially fuses them together. दोनों फर्क समझ में आया? So any technique can be used here. So surrogacy can be by any technique, and sometimes this is also known as 3-parent baby. ऐसे बेबी को हम क्या बोलते हैं? 3-parent baby. The egg come from somebody else, the sperms come from somebody else, and the implantation happens in somebody else. This kind of babies are known as 3-parent baby. Sometimes 2 parents भी हो सकता है if the woman's egg are not comfortable or not okay. In that scenario, what happens is eggs are taken from somebody else also. Those are known as 2-parent baby. So you are a couple. ऐसे समझिए, you are a couple. The woman is unable to have goods egg. Egg जो है, they have deteriorated. In that scenario, you take egg from somebody else, but implantation happens in the couple itself. ये भी 3-parent baby बन जाएगा. But implantation can also happen in the other woman. वो भी हो सकता है. तो there are different mechanism available. All are banned. बात समझ में आई? आप ये सारे mechanism साइंस एंड टेक में अच्छे से पढ़ोगे. मैंने बस समरी दी आपको. So all these mechanism are banned but allowed only for one purpose. The purpose is कहाँ गया? Altruistic surrogacy. Clear this much? अब the question comes is good idea, bad idea. क्या लगता है आपको? On one side, देखिए nothing is black and white in this world. Good idea in this sense, it does not allow exploitation. Because it is often seen, इसमें क्या हो रहा था? By commercial surrogacy, you're reducing a woman to a commodity, a birth-giving machine. So it was dehumanization. But negative disadvantage भी है. Majority of the women who goes through surrogacy are the women who do not have money for survival. कोई मर्जी से surrogacy नहीं कर रहा है. They're doing this out of compulsion. मैं हमेशा कहता हूं, a woman goes for prostitution when the governments are incompetent and the society is corrupt. इन दोनों की कमी से ही किसी को ऐसा करना पड़ता है. When the society is unable to provide, when the government is unable to take care of the people, then they have to go for begging. Beggars are a clear case of failure of the state. Same prostitution, same surrogacy. कोई अपनी मर्जी थोड़ा ना करेगा ये चीज. बात समझ में? अल्ट्रुइस्टिक अलग बात है, कमर्शियल की मैं बात कर रहा हूं. अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है? थाईलैंड में ऐसा हुआ था. थाईलैंड हैड प्रॉपर कमर्शियल सरोगेसी, देन द लॉ वाज पास टू बैन कमर्शियल सरोगेसी. फिर क्या हुआ? इट वेंट अंडरग्राउंड. अंडरस्टैंड, समथिंग यू कैन नॉट स्टॉप, रेगुलेट. ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दिस. समथिंग यू कैन नॉट स्टॉप, रेगुलेट दैट थिंग. बिकॉज जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल अल्कोहल, गुजरात इज अ ड्राई स्टेट, बिहार इज अ ड्राई स्टेट, तो क्या वहां अल्कोहल मिलता नहीं है? If it is legal, you can regulate that nobody get bad alcohol. जिसको पीना उसको पीना, आप रोक नहीं पाओगे. That's the fundamental law of economics. Whenever there is a demand, there will always be a supply. At least by making alcohol legal, you can regulate that nobody drinks bad alcohol. अब देखिए आपको हर दिन न्यूज आती है, गुजरात में कुछ लोग कच्ची दारू पी के मर गए, बिहार में कुछ लोग मर गए. क्यों हो रहा है? Somebody who has to drink will drink. Because the legit supply is not available, they go for illegit supply, and उसमें quality control खत्म हो जाता है. Same is the reason for prostitution that Supreme Court said. We all can agree prostitution is a moral sin. You're exploiting one woman, you're exploiting one human for somebody else's pleasure. But yeah, it is happening since antiquity. Since the humanity is in existence, it is available. Alcohol and prostitute हमेशा से available रही हैं. You cannot stop this. इंडिया में आज तक illegal था, तो क्या हमने रोक लिया? There are red light areas in every country. और सबसे बड़ा तो मुंबई में ही है. ये चीज आप नोटिस करना. Where wealth comes, drugs, prostitute comes. मुंबई has the largest den of prostitution. क्यों है? क्योंकि वहां पे लोगों पे पैसा बहुत है खर्च करने के लिए. बात समझ में आई? So that's why Supreme Court said that prostitution is a profession. Prostitution जब profession बन गया, तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ये नहीं कह रहा है become a prostitute. सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रहा है those women who are victim of this, they have a right to a dignified life. Just because they are in a profession you think is not good, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि उनकी dignified life नहीं हो सकती. बात समझ में आ रही है? तो that is the problem here. You have banned commercial surrogacy. Now the surrogacy will go underground. कम से कम पहले आप रेगुलेट तो कर सकते थे, अब वो भी नहीं होगा. कोई प्रेग्नेंट हो जाएगी, वो बोलेगी नहीं मैं सरोगेट हूं. She will be a surrogate. She will be paid in cash, and she will behave as if I'm pregnant by my boyfriend. So she will never claim to be a surrogate. नुकसान, she cannot claim benefits. अगर सरोगेसी रेगुलेट हो जाती, लीगल, कमर्शियल को लीगल करके आप रेगुलेट करते, तो एवरी सरोगेट मस्ट बी रजिस्टर्ड. तो आप इंश्योर कर सकते हो दैट एवरी वुमन हु इज सरोगेट रिसीव ऑल मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज. यू कैन मेक श्योर शी रिसीव द मनी एट द एंड ऑफ प्रेगनेंसी. ये नहीं कि बच्चा लिया भाग गए. अब क्या है, कमर्शियल सरोगेसी होगी नहीं, यू विल बिकम अ सरोगेट फॉर मनी. और इंडिया में वेयर एवर पॉवर्टी इज देयर, दिस थिंग्स हैपेंस. They will become surrogate for money. State does not know who is surrogate. Then even if the people who are having surrogacy, मान लेते हैं प्रेगनेंसी के लास्ट डे में उन्होंने नहीं लिया बच्चा, फिर ऐसा बहुत होता है. If they found out that, for example, they have a preference for male, somehow woman is born, नहीं लेना चाहते वो, if she or the fetus is born with defect, नहीं पसंद उन्हें, कैसे करोगे? This is the problem. Now state has left these people on their mercy. सबको समझ में आया? तो advantage ethically right, because you are considering that they are not commodities, they are not birth giving machines. But disadvantage, it will have bad consequences. Now it is no longer regulated and it will get illegal, and India is a soft state. हाँ, अगर आप इस कानून को enforce कर सकते हो, फिर ये बढ़िया कानून है. If you can make sure no woman become commercial surrogate for any reason, then perfect law है ये. लेकिन हम सबको पता है ऐसा नहीं होने वाला, क्योंकि आप उन्हें खाना तो दे नहीं पाओगे, तो ऑब्वियसली बात है वो सरोगेट बनेंगी, फिर आप रोक कैसे सकते हो? This is the problem. That's why I always say the only most important thing for a society is food, hunger, malnutrition, health, education. इन पे फोकस करो, 90% प्रॉब्लम ट्रीट हो जाए आपकी जिंदगी की. ठीक है, क्लियर है सबको? और ये रिफॉर्म्स आप लिख सकते हैं कहीं पे भी. अब इंटेंडिंग पेरेंट्स पढ़ लेना यार. सरोगेट मतलब मैंने आपको समझा ही दिया. और इसमें कंडीशन क्या है? क्लोज रिलेटिव होनी चाहिए. The sister, sister-in-law, daughter, daughter-in-law, niece can be the surrogate and between 25 to 45. ये प्रोविजन ठीक है, एज अच्छी रखी है उन्होंने. नेक्स्ट, she must have delivered a child of her own previously. अब ये भी ड्रामा है. Cannot act as a surrogate more than twice. ये अच्छा प्रोविजन है, पर आई कैन पर्सनली गारंटी इनमें से कोई कानून लगने वाला है नहीं. धुल्ला आएगा, उसे पैसे खिलाओ और जितनी बार सरोगेसी करनी कर लो. This is the problem of a soft state where laws are made, but उनका implementation इतना pathetic है that you can violate law with impunity. So that's why I always say, rather than making laws, enforce already made laws. हम पे इतने कानून है, we can make good things in India, पर impose नहीं हो पाते हैं. Let's देख लेते हैं. The act mandates written informed consent from the surrogate mother obtained at least 2 weeks before embryo implantation. तो surrogacy law क्लियर है. Commercial surrogacy is banned. There are some condition for women to become surrogate. There condition. हाँ, एक और चीज, only married couple can go for surrogacy. अब ये मुझे पसंद नहीं आया provision. The why the reason is, जैसे for example आपको पता होगा करण जौहर, he is gay, बोलता नहीं है पर सबको पता है. ठीक है, ना भी हो क्या पता. ठीक है, that is not the point. The point is he has I think 3 children उसने adopt करे हैं, and I believe they are from surrogacy. He has got 2 या 3 जो भी हैं, and they I believe are from surrogacy. He has taken his sperm and eggs of somebody else's. तो जहां तक है सरोगेसी से है, पक्का नहीं पता, पर जो भी है भाई, जस्ट बिकॉज यू कैन नॉट मैरी और यू डोंट वांट टू मैरी, मैरी कोई कंपल्सरी प्रोविजन थोड़ी ना लाइफ का. इफ यू डोंट वांट टू मैरी, इट डजंट मीन यू कैन नॉट हैव किड्स. तो ये प्रोविजन थोड़ा सा गड़बड़ है कि ओनली मैरिड कप, और ये क्या गारंटी है कि मैरिड पीपल विल बी बेटर एट टेकिंग केयर ऑफ द किड देन द अनमैरिड वन? ये कौन सा रूल कहां से निकला? व्हाई इट इज बीइंग डन? बिकॉज टू प्रमोट सोसाइटल मोरालिटी. सोसाइटी में क्या है? विदाउट मैरिज नो सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स एट ऑल. मैंने आपको कई बार समझाया था, अर्लियर हमारे से पहले वाली जो जनरेशन है उनके हिसाब से इट इज अबोरेबल सिन. क्या करा तुमने? ठीक है, बट आवर जनरेशन इज वेरी कॉमन. दैट्स व्हाई वी डिस्कस, अगर आपको याद हो, यूसीसी हमने डिस्कस किया था, उत्तराखंड वाला. उत्तराखंड यूसीसी में आई मेड द सेम पॉइंट अबाउट लिव इन रिलेशनशिप, where now the law says all live in relationship must be registered in Uttarakhand. And why it was there? Because all the elderlies of Uttarakhand, they pressurized the government. उन्होंने बोला सरकार कानून लाए इसके ऊपर, बिकॉज उनको समझ नहीं आ रहा है सब. दे लाइक कर क्या रहे हो तुम लोग. वी हैव अ डिफरेंट वैल्यू सेटअप, दे हैव अ डिफरेंट वैल्यू सेटअप. और इस समय पावर में कौन है? हमारे पेरेंट्स की जनरेशन इस वक्त पावर में है. The people who are in power right now are of our parents generation. हमारी जनरेशन भी पावर में नहीं, वो क्लासरूम्स में है. ठीक है, कुछ लोग थोड़े जॉब वॉब कर रहे होंगे, बट नन ऑफ देम आर इन पावर. अब उन्हें आने में पावर में टाइम लगेगा. ठीक है, क्लियर है दिस मच. चलो बाकी आप पढ़ लेना या देख लेना जो भी है. तो इसमें जो नया लॉ लाया गया उसमें ये है कि दैट यू कैन टेक स्पर्म्स एंड egg cell ऑफ एनीवन. पहले ये कंडीशन नहीं थी, तो अच्छा काम करा सरकार ने बाय लिबरलाइजिंग द लॉ. बाकी ऑल द पॉइंट्स दैट आई मेड इज लिस्टेड हियर, तो एक बार गो थ्रू दिस. बाकी इससे ज्यादा कुछ मत करना, सरोगेसी पे बहुत है. अगला, इंटरनेट बैन एंड फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच. So there was a news that Karnataka High Court has passed an order dismissing the appeal from Twitter. Twitter ने एक अपील लगाई थी. Twitter made an appeal to the Karnataka High Court with respect to suspension of certain accounts. हाँ, मिम्मी देखी है मैंने. I have seen that movie. There's a movie Mimmi on surrogacy. हाँ, so internet bans and freedom of speech and expression. So Karnataka High Court में Twitter, which is the X platform, appeal to the Karnataka High Court because Government of India ordered under a law. इसमें यहाँ mention नहीं है सर. The Ministry of Ministry of Electronics and IT, it ordered the Twitter to suspend some accounts which according to government are spreading fake news. मतलब basically news against the government. Simply सी बात. अब आगे देखते हैं. द जजमेंट में एक बात क्लियर हो गई. कर्नाटक हाई कोर्ट रिजेक्टेड द पिटीशन. तो पिटीशन हैज बीन रिजेक्टेड, नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट. इंपॉर्टेंट यह है गवर्नेंस ऑफ इंटरनेट शटडाउन इन इंडिया एंड द वेरियस डायमेंशन. पहला, इन व्हाट प्रोविजन इंटरनेट कैन बी शट डाउन इन इंडिया. पहला प्रोविजन है सेक्शन 5(2). याद रखना कंपलसरी नहीं है. ऑल यू हैव टू रिमेंबर इंडियन, ये याद रखिएगा बस. जस्ट रिमेंबर, अंडर इंडियन टेलीग्राफ एक्ट, temporary suspension of telecom services is allowed in case of any public emergency or public safety. The home secretary of this union and the state can issue an order for suspension of telegraph or wire services which include internet, and this ban cannot be more than 15 days. In one time आप renew कर सकते हैं. So only the home secretary of the union and the state can pass an order banning internet under telegraph act, but only for 15 days in one time. You can renew the order दोबारा, दूसरी बार पास कर दो, 3 बार पास कर दो, तो हर बार रिन्यू हो रहा है वो ऑर्डर. ठीक है. एंड as soon as you give the order, it must be reviewed by a committee within 5 days. So 5 days you can impose order without review. 5 days में review shall be there. And in case of urgent situation, let's say secretary of home is not available, ill or out of service. In that scenario, any officer of joint secretary level and above, joint secretary, under secretary, secretaries, so any person of joint secretary and above authorized by the union and the state home secretary can issue the order. So these are the rules of order. So who issues internet ban order? होम सेक्रेटरी अंडर टेलीग्राफ एक्ट. लेकिन एक और प्रोविजन है, सेक्शन 144 ऑफ सीआरपीसी. अब तो सीआरपीसी वैसे रहा नहीं. अंडर सेक्शन 144, डीएम, एसडीएम और एनी अदर एग्जीक्यूटिव मैजिस्ट्रेट ऑफ इक्विवेलेंट रैंक कैन इशू ऑर्डर इंक्लूडिंग बैन ऑन इंटरनेट. So now we have two provisions. Pehla, under Telegraph Act, only the Home Secretary can issue order. Under Section 144, even DMs, SDMs, and equivalent rank can issue orders. So we have two provisions, different provisions. Clear this much? So अब देखते हैं what are the issues with this. पहला issue, freedom of speech. Supreme Court in Arunada Basin versus Union of India case held that internet is a major mean of information and therefore part of Article 19(1)(a), that is freedom of speech and expression. So internet is now a fundamental right in India after Anuradha Basin case. and internet cannot be suspended indefinitely. Matlab, it can be suspended but not indefinitely. Clear? Next point. Clear reasons for such orders. Any order banning internet must have clear reasons for banning, and it must be sent to a review committee within 24 hours. क्योंकि लॉ में क्या कहता है? Within 5 days. Now Supreme Court says the order must be sent to review committee within 24 hours. So this is the law now, that Home Secretary of State and the Union can issue internet ban order for at most 15 days in one time. That order must be sent to review committee within 24 hours. Under section 144, the DMs, SDMs and equivalent rank can ban internet for temporary purposes. Clear this much? Similarly, Kerala High Court, recent case hai. Kerala High Court in Fatima Shireen versus State of Kerala has clearly held that right to internet is a fundamental right under Article 21. Because internet has become a critical thing. You can come, जैसे मान लेते हैं you are in a problem, you can communicate with anyone through this. It's a very sacred source of freedom of speech, expression, and life. Okay, please remember that. Next, financial losses. If you look at the news which are covering farm protest, तो जितने हमारे so called nationalist पत्रकार हैं, they all will talk about one point, that this farm protest is causing inconvenience to the people. There is too much losses to businesses. इस पे क्यों नहीं बोलते? इसमें भी तो लॉस हो रहा है. Let's see. Internet shutdown has serious economic consequences also. According to the top 10 VPN, there is a loss of around 2,000 crore only in first half of 2023 due to internet shutdowns. So if farmer protest is leading to economic loss, so does the government ban on farmer protest or government banning internet due to farmer protest. ठीक है. एंड वैसे भी एक अच्छा सीन हुआ कल. आई वाज ड्राइविंग, तो देयर वाज सम, आजकल आपको पता है प्रोटेस्ट के लिए नए हथियार लाए गए हैं, ट्रेलर्स, वो ना जिसमें कंटेनर्स. So there was a container, they were driving ITO पे there was a driving container, there was a person in besides of me. तो ऐसे I was like क्या हुआ? तो he was like देखो लोकतंत्र की लाश जा रही है. He remarked, literally remarked that. मेरी हंसी छूट गई एकदम से. So what he was saying, that look, that the corpse or democracy is going in front of us. What is the, why he's saying so? पता नहीं कहाँ से पढ़ के आया था वो, but why he's saying so this? Because the container is for what? Of course, to prevent protest, to prevent the people from protesting, which is a very essence of democracy. And I always say, if you want to judge your democracy, you can judge by two parameters. Peaceful transfer of power. Whenever elections happen, चाहे कोई हारे या जीते, transfer of power shall be peaceful. Second, tolerance to protest. Any government of any color, if they are not tolerating protest of anyone, let's say कल कांग्रेस की सरकार आती है, if Congress does the same thing with BJP, if BJP protests against Congress government, it is as dictatorial, as authoritarian as BJP doing with Congress. So these are the two key parameters. तो उसका रिमार्क किस बात पे था? इस बात पे था कि देखो लोकतंत्र की लाश जा रही है. ठीक है, basically the corpse of democracy is going in that container. Clear this much? So this is the problem. Internet shutdown has economic consequences also. It impinge on freedom of speech and expression. It impinge on right to life. It impinge on economic rights. अब आता है loss of education. ये तो आपको पता ही है. For example, during internet ban in क्या नाम है, Jammu Kashmir for a long time, there are a lot of people who were preparing for civil services and other exam. They found it very hard to study. Everything is online nowadays. They could not walk anywhere because it was strict lockdown. Plus घर में net नहीं है. ठीक है, तो with internet there is a loss of education as well as health. Plus सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पे है परसेप्शन. मैंने आपको क्या बताया, राजनीति में सब कुछ क्या है? परसेप्शन है. For example, you are an Indian, somebody is a Chinese. So on border, you will justify India's claim. That person will justify China's claim because he's born in China, you are born in India. But now imagine a third person, an American. He will justify nobody's claim because he is neither invested in Indian sentiments nor he is invested in Chinese sentiment. For him, there are two people fighting for unnecessary war for a territory for political reasons. That is called third perspective. Ab, you are banning internet, so you have a media saying it is good. You may have people saying it is bad. but it is harming India's soft power. Soft power means power of attraction. There are two kind of powers: hard power and soft power. Hard power means power of coercion. Coercion means I put a gun over your head, I can make you do anything. That is called hard power. But that power works as long as I have a gun over your head. The second the gun is removed, or the second you get a gun, the situation will reverse. Soft power is power of love, power of attraction. If, for example, you like somebody, तो उस केस में हमने देखा ना, you manipulate your identity. वैसे आप ऐसे ऐसे खाते हैं, फिर आप what happened here? Because you like a person, you don't want to show them the thing that you think is not very desirable. So you manipulate your identity, you manipulate your behavior for a person जिसने आपके कनपट्टी पे बंदूक नहीं रखी, who is not having a gun over your head, but yet you behave the way he or she wants because you want that person to like you. That is called power of love and power of attraction, known as IR में से बोलते हैं हम soft power. If I have the soft power, I can make you do anything I want, and you will do that willingly. There's a lot of people after marriage or before marriage, they get into a relationship, they manipulate their identity. You start doing something you dislike, but your partners like. Not because you like that thing, but because your partner like that thing and you want to stay with that partner. बात समझ में? तो same thing soft power works. By having internet shut down, what we are losing? India's power of attraction. What attraction power India has? Liberal democracy, cultural diversity. A liberal democracy should talk about liberty. Pakistan करे तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Nobody cares about it. China करे तो बिल्कुल भी फर्क नहीं पड़ता. China has no soft power in the world. India has. India, for example, G20 mein Modi ji what said? India is the mother of democracy. Mother of democracy does not ban internets. India, according to this report, according to US based access now, digital right advocacy group, 58% of all recorded internet shutdown in this entire world are in India. India bans more internet than China. This is the thing. And India ranked third in the world in terms of, और हम जिनसे आगे हैं वो अच्छे देश नहीं है. अफगानिस्तान व अफगानिस्तान जैसे लोगों से हम आगे थोड़े से. So this is the problem. India is losing soft power, especially in academic circles, at very high pace. Not good thing. Anyway, internet shutdown democracy मैंने आपको बता ही दिया. It is used to silence critics and distort information. अब कुछ लोगों को लगता है इंटरनेट इज यूजफुल टू प्रिवेंट स्प्रेड ऑफ फेक न्यूज. जरूरी भी है. वी हैव डिस्कस क्रिटिसिज्म. नाउ लेट्स टॉक इन फेवर ऑफ बैन विद एन एग्जांपल. मणिपुर, इसमें है शायद केस स्टडी, देख लेना. मणिपुर में व्हाट हैपेंड? मणिपुर में देयर वाज अ पर्सन फ्रॉम मेती कम्युनिटी. देयर आर टू कम्युनिटीज देयर, ट्राइब मेती, कुकी, नागास. तीन है, मेती, कुकी एंड नागास. कुकी, नागास आर माइनॉरिटी ट्राइब्स. मेती इज अ मेजॉरिटी ट्राइब, पर्टिकुलरली कुकी. तो कुकी एंड मेती में फाइट चल रहा है. अब व्हाट हैपेंड? देयर वाज अ गाय, he uploaded a picture on social media where there was a girl wrapped into some plastic sheet, burnt. A burned girl was wrapped into a plastic sheets. He said that this is a Methi woman raped by cookies and burned alive. जबकि वो थी नहीं वीडियो. That was from Rajasthan. She was honor killed by her own family. That was a honor killing picture. But उसने क्या बोल के वायरल करी? That it is a Methi woman raped and burned alive by cookies. In response to that fake clip, that fake photograph, it went viral in Manipur, particularly among Methi community. In that response, we saw that video. The video that we saw from Manipur, where two women were paraded naked, their private part were touched, and then they were mass raped. It was a reaction. Reaction to what? A fake photo. That is the danger of social media. लोग वेरीफाई तो करते नहीं है. कुछ भी आया फॉरवर्ड करो, माता की कृपा होगी, लो फॉरवर्ड कर दिया मैंने. Without checking, we forward virtually anything on internet. And that's how the politicians use it. वो कुछ भी भंगार भेजते हैं. आप वेरीफाई कर नहीं पाते, and you start believing whatever भंगार you get on the phone. That's how what we call a WhatsApp university graduates. This incident signifies that why banning internet is required sometimes. But still, I would say with limitations. जरूरत है बैन इंटरनेट की, पर अनलिमिटेड नहीं होना चाहिए एंड विद ड्यू कॉशन. डू नॉट बैन इंटरनेट जस्ट बिकॉज समबडी इज प्रोटेस्टिंग अगेंस्ट यू. बैन इंटरनेट मणिपुर में आपने बैन करा, कोई इशू नहीं है. जम्मू कश्मीर में बैन करा, कोई इशू नहीं है. बट बैनिंग इंटरनेट एवरी टाइम, आप एक प्रोटेस्ट कर लो तुरंत इंटरनेट बैन होता है, कहीं पे भी हो, किसी भी तरह का प्रोटेस्ट हो. जैसा आपको पता होगा कुछ महीने पहले ऑल इंडिया एम्प्लॉइज, गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉइज केम टू दिल्ली फॉर प्रोटेस्ट. किसी को पता है इसके बारे में? कवर होगा तो पता होगा ना आपको. Employees of PSUs, public sector undertakings, they came I think 2 or 3 months before in India. Sorry, Delhi में. Around the country, public sector employees came to Delhi to protest against government's privatization. एक मीडिया चैनल ने कवर नहीं करा. It was a big gathering. पूरा आई थिंक रामलीला मैदान था. It was filled with the government employees. इतने हजारों एम्प्लॉइज थे दिल्ली में, प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं, किसी को नहीं पता. क्यों? कवर ही नहीं करा. अब ऐसे में कौन कवर करता है इसे? सोशल मीडिया. तो सोशल मीडिया यू कैन नॉट कंट्रोल, पर वो भी कंट्रोल कैसे हो गया? इंटरनेट बैन. तो यू आर प्रोटेस्टिंग हियर, इंटरनेट बैन इज देयर, योर वीडियोस कैन नॉट गो आउटसाइड एंड मीडिया विल नॉट शो यू. क्या होगा? 1 महीने करोगे, 2 महीने करोगे, फिर घर चले जाओगे. And that is the problem we are having. Banning internet is not wrong thing. It is required, as we see in Manipur case. But banning internet every time is disastrous. That is the point. Second, internet shutdown is ineffective and counterproductive to measure. हमें लगता है it prevent fake news. नहीं, it promote fake news. Internet ban लगा हुआ है. Anyone can come to you and say anything. Because ban is there, you have no mechanism to verify any information. कम से कम इंटरनेट होगा तो कुछ तो वेरीफाई कर लोगे. और प्रॉब्लम पता कमाल की क्या है? सब पार्टी इन्वॉल्व है. किसी को क्या ब्लेम करें हम? हर पार्टी इन्वॉल्व है. कोई मोदी जी के बारे में कुछ लिख रहा है, कोई राहुल गांधी के बारे में कुछ लिख रहा है. एवरी पार्टी इज इन्वॉल्व. एवरी पार्टी हैज अ आईटी सेल एंड एवरीवन इज इन्वॉल्व. सो उसके लिए सॉल्यूशन क्या बनता है इसका? वी नीड अ प्रॉपर लॉ. वी नीड अ लॉ ऑन इंटरनेट. प्रॉपर लॉ चाहिए हमें, विच शुड हैव वन प्रोविजन ऑफ डेटा प्रोटेक्शन. Every second, any one of us, every second you spend on internet, every like, every comment, every video you watch, you create a data point about you. Today Google knows about you better than you do. It covers every second of your life. हर किसी का फोन का जीपीएस तो ऑन रहता ही होगा, तो मुझे पता है. Go to Google Map, there are 3 dots, press that and go to timeline. Timeline आता है उसमें. Go to timeline, you will see आपका फोन जहां जहां ट्रेवल करा है और कितनी देर ट्रेवल करा है, ये सारी लिस्ट होती है. गूगल ट्रेसेस एवरी सेकंड ऑफ योर लाइफ. कहां आप जा रहे हैं, कहां रुक रहे हैं, कितनी देर रुक रहे हैं, एवरीथिंग इज ट्रेस्ड. गूगल नोज विच वीडियो यू लाइक, मतलब व्हाट काइंड ऑफ पर्सन यू आर. मान लेते यू लाइक द राइट विंग वीडियो, तो उसे पता लग जाएगा यू आर अ राइट विंग ओरिएंटेड पर्सन. आपने लेफ्ट विंग की वीडियो राइट करी, सोशलिस्ट, तो उसे पता लग जाएगा यू आर अ सोशलिस्ट पर्सन. एंड देन आई नो दैट आई कैन प्रमोट एनीथिंग. I know you're a person who are concerned about women's safety. I want Congress, I want to defeat Congress. So I will circulate a video to you only. You will get a video on your WhatsApp where women are being shown in pathetic condition in Congress rule. चाहे होना उससे कोई मतलब नहीं. तो आप किसे वोट डालोगे? मुझे. सेम कांग्रेस करेगी. This is the problem. That's why to deal with this problem we need a proper law on internet regulation. पर मैं गारंटी कर सकता हूँ कोई लॉ अभी आने वाला है नहीं. रीजन बीइंग क्योंकि सभी इन्वॉल्व है, सारे एक ही थाली के चट्टे बट्टे हैं. ठीक है, क्लियर दिस मच. चलिए फाइन, बाकी आप पढ़ लेना, इसमें अनसन चीजें लिखी हुई हैं, पता नहीं क्या क्या लिख देता हूँ मैं. ये द इंसिडेंट दैट आई टोल्ड यू इज रिटन हियर, प्लीज गो थ्रू दिस. इसको आप इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं एज अ केस स्टडी इन एथिक्स में, व्हेन यू राइटिंग एन आंसर टू जस्टिफाई इंटरनेट बैन. वहां भी कवर हो सकता है एथिकल डायमेंशंस में. इन एन एसे इफ समथिंग कम्स ऑन डिजिटल गवर्नेंस, तब आप इसे लिख सकते हैं. गुड केस स्टडी है. If you write a case study in your answers, you will always get 1 or 2 marks extra because you are justifying with a real life scenario. आप theoretical बकैती नहीं मार रहे हो, कुछ real बोला है आपने. ठीक है, चलो फाइन है. अब हम आते हैं द एंटी नेशनल्स के पास, द फार्मर्स. ठीक है, तो नाउ वी विल डिस्कस द एंटी नेशनल प्रोटेस्ट इन इंडिया, द फार्मर्स प्रोटेस्ट. फॉर द पीपल हु कुड नॉट अंडरस्टैंड, इट वाज अ सरकाज़म. ठीक है, दिल्ली पुलिस डोंट टेक इट ऑन हार्ट. चलो, so I will discuss every point of farmer protest. Reason being, it's very important. GS paper 3 mains, the question asked from agriculture is equal to all the question from entire economics. You study 12 chapter of economics or you study 2 chapter of agriculture, same amount of questions. It has too much weightage in GS paper 3. So agriculture mein, if there is any news, cover that in detail. So farm protest mein, there are 12 demands. I will cover every single demand in detail. All sides. क्या होना चाहिए, क्या नहीं हुआ, कैसे होगा. पर इस क्लास में नहीं हो पाएगा. So I have covered 3 demands in this class. The remaining demands I will cover in next class. But I will cover every single demand in detail. Let's see the first 3 demands. The farmers who are protesting now, they have given a 12-point charter of demand to the government. First demand is bring a law on MSP. Second, give MSP according to Swaminathan committee recommendation known as 1.5 of C2 या फिर C2 plus 50 formula. Third, debt waiver of farmers and laborers and pension for farmers. ठीक है, remaining point I will discuss in next class. पहले इन तीनों को discuss करते हैं. चलिए हम नीचे आइए and look at the context of demand. Context of demand में point number 1, law on MSP. So how the MSP is determined? At the beginning of the sowing season for Kharif and Rabi crops, the government announced MSP. कितनी crops के लिए? 23. Plus 1 sugar cane है, 23. Sugar cane के लिए fair price nomination है. Know all the 20 crops in detail. Google some mnemonics. UPSC prelims से बहुत बार पूछ चुका है. And farm laws is going, farm protest going on. Chances that question from farming may come in prelims gets higher. Chances that interview में you will be asked about farming. अगर अभी कोई interview दे रहा होगा, पक्का उसे farming में question पूछेंगे. Because the UPSC members, they ask from current affairs ज़्यादातर. And mains में पक्का important बन जाता है. वैसे भी important है ही है. ठीक है, please remember. So MSP is determined for Kharif and Rabi crop. There are 3 seasons of farming in India: Kharif, Rabi, and Zaid. 2 crops के लिए it is determined by the government. 23 crops which farmers are willing to sell to FCI and NAFED. 2 bodies है हमारे पास. Food Corporation of India, NAFED. Full form मुझे याद नहीं रहती कभी भी. Google कर लेना. So NAFED basically procures coarse grains, millet वगैरह, plus pulses and oil seeds. Coarse grain, pulses, oil seeds. कौन procure करता है? NAFED. Wheat and rice कौन procure करता है? FCI. ठीक है, remember this distinction. Wheat rice procurement happened by FCI. Pulses, coarse grains, pulses and oil seeds are procured by NAFED. Ab government decide MSP according to the recommendation of CACP, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. It suggests MSP to government approves. After harvesting, FCI and NAFED purchase crop at MSP. Then the grain are sold to PDS outlet, known as fair price shop at issue price. Difference between issue price and MSP is known as food subsidy. So how food subsidy works in India? Let's say market price of potato is 10 rupees. Government will give you 12 rupees as MSP. इससे फायदा क्या हुआ? I will give you better price, farmers. I will take your produce and then I will give that produce to the state. Center का role खत्म. The only role center plays in India's food distribution. It procures food, it gives MSP. It gives MSP and at MSP it procures food. Then it gives to the state. Role ended. Now the state's role start. States identify beneficiaries who shall receive this ration, sarkari ration. And then it takes that to the fair price shop, sarkari ration shops. And from there it is given to the ration card holders. So there are 2 roles here. Central government role is what? Giving MSP and procurement. Distribution and access to food is the role of state governments. दोनों के role याद रखिएगा. So the difference, the market price is 10 rupees, you give 12 rupees as MSP. Then at fair price shop, you will sell that same potato at 5 rupees. So the difference of 12 minus 5, कितना बचा? Maths मेरी ठीक नहीं है. 7 बताना साहब. 7. 7 is your food subsidy. समझा कैसे food subsidy काम करता है? The difference between MSP and the issue price. The price at which you get food in the ration shops, the sarkari kirana shops, is known as government subsidy to food. ठीक है, प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट। अब देखते हैं प्रॉब्लम क्या है, ये सारा ड्रामा चल क्यों रहा है। ये इसलिए चल रहा है, अकॉर्डिंग टू संता कुमार कमेटी अपॉइंटेड बाय द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, अकॉर्डिंग टू संता कुमार कमेटी, ओनली 6% ऑफ द फार्मर्स आर बेनिफिशियरी ऑफ एमएसपी, पर्टिकुलरली इन पंजाब एंड हरियाणा। इसलिए आप देखिए फार्म प्रोडक्ट्स मेनली कौन कर रहा है, पंजाब एंड हरियाणा कर रहा है, बिकॉज दे आर द बिगेस्ट बेनिफिशियरी ऑफ एमएसपी। So 6% of farmers get the MSP, and 50% of the food grains are siphoned off in the PDS system. So only 6% of farmers get MSP, and whatever food grains I procure, 50% black market ho jata hai. It's too high. This has been highlighted by Santa Kumar committee. Halaki, there is a dispute on Santa Kumar committee as well. It is said Santa Kumar committee used NSSO surveys for ये जो 6% का बोगस फिगर लाई है ये, the Gene Rays wrote an article and argued that 6% का जो bogus figure है संता कुमार कमेटी का, it is based on NSSO survey which has numerous deficiencies. तो चलो मान लेते 6 नहीं होगा, कितना होगा, 10 होगा, 15 होगा, अब 90 तो नहीं होगा. Always remember, trends are never wrong. Absolute quantum can be. जैसे मान लेते अगर हम कहते हैं इंडिया में ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट हैज रिड्यूस बाय 3 पॉइंट्स, तो हो सकता है 1 पॉइंट से रिड्यूस हुई हो या 2 पॉइंट से हुई हो, लेकिन रिड्यूस हुई है. ऐसा कभी नहीं होगा कि ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट इंक्रीज कर रहा है इंडिया में और रैंक गिर जाए हमारी. तो इट मे नॉट बी 6, मे बी 10, मे बी 15, मे बी 20, बट फॉर श्योर इट इज नॉट 90. ये तो क्लियर है. क्लियर दिस मच. सो कोई भी फिगर हो, मान के चलिए 10 के आसपास. प्लस द प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स does not pay good prices, and so government has to buy wheat, but at the same time FCI does not have enough storage capacity, so wheat get rotten. दो प्रॉब्लम हो गई. पहला ये, यू डिक्लेयर एमएसपी, प्राइवेट प्लेयर डज नॉट टेक ऑन एमएसपी, सो यू गो टू सरकारी मंडी. सरकारी मंडी में एफसीआई एंड नाफेड प्रोक्यूज, पर्टिकुलरली एफसीआई व्हीट एंड राइस. नाफेड प्रोक्यूज बट पल्सेस, कोर्स ग्रेन एंड ऑयल सीड वो होता ही नहीं है. द ओनली प्रोक्यूरमेंट इन इंडिया हैपेंस इन wheat and rice. So you take your produce to FCI stores, सरकारी मंडी, and their FCI procures wheat and rice. और आपको ये बात पता है, तो आप क्या उगाओगे, wheat and rice या ऑयल सीड्स? wheat and rice. ये प्रॉब्लम है. Because government declare MSP for 23 crops, 22 plus 1, but government does not procure on 23 crop. It procures only wheat and rice, that too primarily from Punjab and Haryana. This is because this is the reason that farmers grow wheat and rice, wheat and rice, wheat and rice in a cycle. They do not grow vegetables, they do not grow pulses, they do not grow oil seeds. That's why there is a problem of ecological disaster. MSP सिर्फ इकोनॉमिक इशू नहीं है, इकोलॉजिकल इशू भी है. Because you are growing wheat, rice again. If land fertility drops, इसलिए पंजाब एंड हरियाणा में soil is becoming arid. पंजाब एंड हरियाणा की सॉइल खराब हो रही है बहुत तेजी से. क्यों खराब हो रही है? बिकॉज दे आर ग्रोइंग व्हीट राइस, व्हीट राइस, व्हीट राइस. क्लियर है दिस मच. तो गवर्नमेंट गिव्स एमएसपी, procurement does not happen for more than 10% of the people. Majority of the food that government procures goes to black marketing, and majority of the procurement happens only on wheat, rice, leaving other necessary crops at the margin. That leads to ecological disaster as well. So से एक बात तो समझ में आ गई, एमएसपी एक डिजास्टर है. ये बात तो मैं समझ में आ गई. फिर इसे हटा क्यों नहीं देते? हटा इसलिए नहीं सकते बिकॉज 70% ऑफ योर पॉपुलेशन डिपेंड्स ऑन एग्रीकल्चर. इफ यू वांट टू ब्रिंग रिफॉर्म्स एग्रीकल्चर में, कैपिटलिस्ट रिफॉर्म जो मोदी गवर्नमेंट चाहती थी फार्म लॉज में, एक ही तरीका है. फर्स्ट, you have to move farmers from farming to manufacturing. When they will have diversity of income, then you can bring reforms. अभी प्रॉब्लम पता क्या होता है? 85% of farmers in India are marginal and small farmers. Marginal small means less than 2 hectares. So they are working on their own land. They have no room for innovation. डरते हैं वो. आप एक नई पॉलिसी लाए, क्या पता ना चले, और मैं फार्मर हूं, मेरी पूरी फैमिली फार्मिंग में है. आई हैव नो डाइवर्सिटी ऑफ इनकम. अगर ये क्रॉप फेल हुई, मैं गया. दैट इज द रीजन ऑफ फार्मर सुसाइड. दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम. यू आर ट्राइंग टू रिफॉर्म एग्रीकल्चर, अच्छा इनिशिएटिव है, but you are trying to reform a sector which supports 70% of your population directly indirectly. आप कर ही नहीं सकते, वो डर जाते हैं, और डरना जायज भी है भाई. You have only imagine yourself, you are the only person working in your entire family in a private job. Can you leave that job? कभी नहीं, चाहे बॉस कितना भी बुरा हो, because you have to support your family. बात समझ में आई? तो only way to bring reform. MSP की कोई डिमांड नहीं करेगा अगर you are able to shift them to manufacturing. If there is diversity of income in farming, they are less likely to ask for MSP. और प्रॉब्लम ये हो नहीं पा रहा है. इसके रीजन क्या क्या है? प्रीवियस क्लास देखना. प्रीवियस क्लास में वी हैव डिस्कस इंडियाज फॉरेन ट्रेड पॉलिसी इन डिटेल. उसमें मैंने डिटेल में समझाया कि ये क्यों नहीं हो पा रहा है. क्लियर दिस मच? तो ये सब ड्रामा चल रहा है. एमएसपी फार्मर डिमांड कर रहे हैं एक कानून का विच इज इकोनॉमिकली फीजिबल नहीं है सरकार के लिए. सरकार कैन नॉट गिव एमएसपी ऑन 23 क्रॉप्स, वो भी गारंटीड एमएसपी बाय लॉ. ठीक है. प्लस गवर्नमेंट वांट्स टू ब्रिंग रिफॉर्म इन एग्रीकल्चर, जो वो ला नहीं पाएंगे until unless they move people from agriculture to manufacturing. क्लियर? चलो हमारा टाइम भी हो गया, मुझे अगली क्लास में अटेंड करनी है. सो सेकंड पॉइंट से रह गया है.
Sir,
नेक्स्ट
why
क्लास में
MSP is not feasible on all the 23 crops?
yes it is not feasible, economically not feasible. गवर्नमेंट में इतना पैसा नहीं है.
सब दूसरे कामों के लिए तो बहुत है.
हाँ तो तभी तो पैसा नहीं है. देखिए समझिए
Okay,
इसलिए
sir.
वी हैव अ कॉर्पस ऑफ 100 रुपीज, उसमें बहुत सारे काम करने होते हैं हमें. ठीक है. वी हैव टू गिव टू डिफेंस, फिर मोदी जी को विदेश दौरे भी करने हैं. ठीक है. अपोजिशन को ब्लेम भी करना है. Jokes apart, there are a lot of works. You have to put money in defense. We have to put money in other kind of services, roadways, highways. ठीक है. प्रायोरिटी थोड़ी अलग है. If you remember the budget जो हमने डिस्कस किया था, इंटरिम बजट में मैंने आपको क्या समझाया था? मोदी गवर्नमेंट हैज डिवोटेड 3.5% of its GDP and the largest share in construction. जबकि support to agriculture, support to health and education has reduced. Support to infrastructure has increased. क्योंकि infrastructure किसको चाहिए? बिजनेस को चाहिए. दिस गवर्नमेंट इज प्योरली न्यू लिबरल कैपिटलिस्ट फ्रेंडली. बट गवर्नमेंट बहुत सारे किस किस को सेटिस्फाई करेंगे? बात ये समझिए. ठीक है. तो लिमिटेशंस है, कुछ सॉल्यूशन ढूंढेंगे इसका. एक सॉल्यूशन मैंने आपको बता दिया. फार्मर्स विल नॉट डिमांड एमएसपी इफ यू विल मूव देम फ्रॉम फार्मिंग टू मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. वो हो नहीं पा रहा है. क्यों नहीं हो पा रहा है? प्लीज सी द प्रीवियस क्लास, क्योंकि डिटेल में बता नहीं पाऊंगा मैं भी. ठीक है. सेकंड पॉइंट से अभी 11 डिमांड बाकी है. नेक्स्ट क्लास में हम सारी डिमांड को डिटेल में करेंगे. मैं फिर रिपीट कर रहा हूं, एग्रीकल्चर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, कोई पॉइंट मत छोड़ना इसमें. ठीक है. बाय बाय. आएगा कहां से? उसके लिए मैन्युफैक्चरिंग होनी भी तो चाहिए नाजिर. इट इज नॉट बीइंग प्रमोटेड, दैट इज द पॉइंट. चलिए. Yes, very welcome Samartha, FIFA and other people. We will meet again. Bye bye.